Are you going to sue DogPack?
Well,
Mr. Beast is currently on a private jet on his way to where I live in Central Texas to have a conversation with me with the intention of addressing the controversy that he has been involved in over the last few months. And I think that it is important for me to document my intentions before embarking on this risky and difficult task. I am not Scott Pelley. I am not a hard-hitting genius investigative journalist. I'm a YouTuber with a medium-sized platform. I am currently doing journalism, to be fair, but I am goofy, all right? Also, back in August, I platformed DogPack, and out of fairness, I feel that it is important to do the same for Mr. Beast. Mr. Beast has agreed to keep an open line of communication. He'll only be here for a little bit, which is crazy because he's flying halfway across the country. And he and his team have agreed to provide us with evidence and information to give proof to claims so we can actually be as transparent here as possible. The goal of this video is not for it to please everyone or gotcha somebody. It is for this video to be a meaningful source of information. So to future me and you currently viewing, I'm sure I missed some questions, but I absolutely did my best and I stand behind the result, maybe. And I look forward to seeing the comments and criticism.
Firstly, would you be willing to put your hand on this Bible and swear?
oh my gosh, you actually have a Bible?
I have 2 Bibles.
Are you being serious?
I am being serious.
Okay.
I'm swearing. We're both from the South. This will be an honest video.
Oh, your laptop's blocking it.
Oh, whoops. This will be an honest video. You're a man from North Carolina. I'm from Virginia.
The Bible Belt.
The Bible Belt,
Yep.
exactly.
I know what this means.
This means it's legit.
Yes. Okay.
There we go.
I was not expecting that. Okay.
This is like legal now.
It is. I could go to jail.
The first biggest question for me and a lot of people that I've spoken to over the last couple months is like, why were you so silent? Especially off the bat. Like, you did respond to the Ava Tyson stuff immediately, but like, you know, right after that, a bunch of other stuff came out, and Dawson's video, his first video, gained a bunch of traction. What was your reasoning for being so silent immediately?
No, that's a great question to kick it off on. You actually kind of laid out the timeline there. The Ava stuff came out, and I put out that tweet. We hired the investigators to go look into it, and part of that investigation is they recommended that I not talk about drama or really do anything online because it might influence, you know, witnesses or any people they might interview or ex-employees. So it's a little unfortunate because I told them, okay, I'll wait till the investigation is over. And I believe that was literally like a week before the DogPack video came out. And then, truthfully, just in transparency, I've never done one of these like big investigations before. And in my head, it was going to last like 2 or 3 weeks. It ended up taking a couple months. Apparently combing through all the documents and doing all the interviews and everything just took way longer than I thought, because I've never had to bring in a top tier law firm and a former federal prosecutor and let them, do this really big thing. And so that kind of concluded a couple weeks ago when I put out the tweet of the follow-up.
Yeah.
Like, that was the day I got the conclusion of it. And I was like, okay, in transparency, I'll throw this out. So up until that point, it was, I had told Quinn Emanuel that, to protect the integrity, I wouldn't do anything or engage in any of this drama. And then after that, yeah, like you said, a lot of stuff had come out between when the investigation started and when it ended. And I was just kind of like, whoa, I don't really know how to like hit this stuff. And I made like a little response video, but that's just kind of not my style, where I just kind of like put a lot of the information that I assume we're going to talk about here out. And it just felt weird. Yeah, I mean, truthfully, I've never been in a situation where people have thrown this much stuff at me, and I definitely could have handled it better. Like, I probably should have, like, the second I could have talked, like, I don't remember the exact date, 2 or 3 weeks ago when we put that report out, probably should have done something like this right then. If I could go back in time, I would. And yeah, that's kind of like the brain dump, and then here I am.
Yeah, so I was going to ask, you answered it towards the end, but like, do you regret that, obviously?
Yeah, if I could go back in time, I would do what we're doing here, because I assume this is like the correct format. It's going to be a little bit more free-flowing and natural, and I wouldn't have wasted so much time like trying to do a response. It's just not my thing. I like so much better, or I'm assuming, I mean, we just started, but I think I'm going to like so much better being asked the questions and answer it, instead of just like sitting in a chair like this, answering it. It just feels a little more natural.
Got you. Yeah, I mean, that definitely, that does line up, obviously, with what's happened, and it makes sense. And I definitely, I feel like, before talking to you, I definitely would imagine that you would regret have not making a response early.
Oh,
right?
100%.
Like that, because that could have, you could have just immediately, if there was information to debunk DogPack's his first video off the bat.
Yeah, which obviously had so much
Could have done
disinformation in it. If
Yeah.
anyone saw Soggy's video or any
Yeah.
of the newer videos now coming out, like you would
we'll
see
get to
so
that
much.
too, yeah.
So much of it. So it's it's unfortunate that it happened on the back end of when I said I would not talk about or address drama and things. And I mean, there's obviously should have done this sooner. Whoops, but hey, better late than never.
Yeah. Did you think it would get this big?
No, I mean, truthfully, I thought, like, if you watch Soggy's video or any of these other videos that are coming out now showing all the discrepancies, I honestly thought a lot of people would find, like, the information proving the dishonesty earlier.
The Google?
Because a lot of this could have been, just figure out Google. A lot of this could, and now, I also have to be clear, like, I'm not perfect, and I'm not saying I've never done anything wrong, and you can't criticize me. Like, there are things I deserve criticism for, and I'm sure we'll get to some of those things in here. But there are a lot of things that are just not true, and on those things, like, I mean, we'll just get to it throughout this because I'm sure you're gonna ask me the questions. But there's just a lot of disinformation that was easily proved wrong. Like the big one that videos with tens of millions of views collectively, claiming I called a guy Delaware because he committed a crime in Delaware, like. That is not true. His name was just Delaware. I didn't, call him Delaware to make fun of him or anything. And, I'm sure you're going to ask about it later, but there's literally, he was in a video before I hired him working at Best Buy wearing a name tag that said Delaware. And that was public information. And anyone could have saw that. Even during when that was getting shared a lot a couple months ago, I even sent that to a couple of YouTubers. I was like, hey, just so you know, I didn't call him Delaware because of this messed up thing. That was just his name, and here's proof. Mm-hmm. And I guess I probably shouldn't say the name of the creators, but one of them literally just said to me, well, it's not really cool to like you or defend you right now, so I don't really care whether or not it's true, or I don't want to take the video down because then people are going to think I'm controlled opposition. I was like, whoa. And then also, that same photo, are you going to throw some things on the screen for them?
Definitely.
Yeah, so throw it on the screen. That same photo, right after that second DogPack video, started to get traction on Reddit and saying hey, this is a lie. Jimmy didn't call him Delaware to make fun of him, committing a crime in Delaware. That's just his name. And it got taken down by the mods on r/YouTube drama. And that's when I realized anytime there's a post proving that I'm not evil, they were taking it down. So it was a little unfortunate too, because I wasn't saying anything. And then on Reddit, anytime something was proving that I wasn't evil or contrarian to what everyone was saying, they were suppressing it or censoring it. Not trying to sound extreme.
So you're saying it's like a echo chamber, which Reddit r/YouTube drama is.
Yeah, I know, but it's unfortunate when there's a post with 10,000 upvotes claiming something false about you, and then then a couple people are like, wait, that's not true. Here's proof. And then they delete it every time. So then everyone's like, okay, well then that must be true, because they're also deleting the comments on that post that prove it's not. And so then then it's just now, again, I'm not trying to sound extreme, but it's just you're censoring information. And then that paired with other YouTubers, when I would call them and share it with them, they'd just be like, well, I don't want to be a Mr. Beast Glazer, so I don't really... They wouldn't say it this direct, but they would just essentially say, I don't really care if it's true or not. I'm just going to say what other people say, sorry.
Do you have evidence of people there being posts that existed and then didn't exist on Reddit that got?
Of course. Yeah,
okay,
I can send you.
Yeah, if you'd send me anything,
you could throw it up
that.
on screen. I mean, that's not a conspiracy theory. That's
of course. Yeah. Just,
we can find quite a few.
I'm not that good at using Google. So
yeah.
I'll need you to help me with that. Yeah, so to circle back to the Quinn Emanuel investigation, the big thing on the internet, on Twitter specifically, was that you found yourself to be innocent. Of course, you paid a law firm to find yourself innocent.
I saw those memes, yeah.
That was the big meme. How would you respond to the allegation that the investigation was biased from the start?
Yeah. So... first off, to just set the foundation, I think a lot of people are saying, oh, of course, Jimmy did an internal investigation, found himself, they didn't find any wrongdoing, which is also not true, which I assume we'll go into that more later. They did find some wrongdoing, just not in regards to the serious Ava allegation. So that's a, false truth. And then on top of that, it wasn't an internal investigation. It was an external investigation, which was clearly laid out in the things we showed.
Yeah, a third-party investigation.
Yeah, exactly. And so, it is a little bit of a, a lot of people I saw were saying well, you paid them, and it's top tier lawyers and federal prosecutors don't work for free, so I have to pay them.
Yeah.
So I don't really know how to debunk that one. It just is what it is. But yeah, we hired Quinn Emanuel, which is one of the top law firms in the world. I mean, it was very expensive, but I intentionally picked them because they have a reputation and they're not just going to destroy their entire business to be biased towards me. You know what I mean? And then it was led by a former federal prosecutor who did the whole thing. I mean, it was pretty intense. I mean, they did tons of interviews. I mean, transparently, they even like scanned my phone, dug through, like they have messages I sent to my girlfriend. And I'm like, why is this even relevant? And they're like, I mean, if you want a thorough one and you want us to like be confident in what we're saying, we need to see everything. Like they went pretty hardcore on it, which is why it ended up taking a couple of months. Because truthfully, when I started this process, I didn't realize like how intense it was. But I gave them the reins to everything, and yeah, it took longer than I thought. But I don't know. I mean, is there any like how else do I prove it besides? I mean, I think another thing that missing context people don't have is like, if they found anything illegal, they're obligated to report it to the police. Like this like that's how these things work when they do these investigations. It's not like they could be like, hey Jimmy, we found this illegal thing. We'll just sweep it under the rug.
But it's all right because you paid us.
Yeah, so it's just in every way. I just don't think people understand. Like it's it was obviously Coin Emanuel. That's why we paid them, and it was pretty thorough and.
So I mean, those are two things that make sense, right? We just covered two back-to-back things that make sense. A, you waited a long time for the investigation, and B, you paid like a very reputable law firm, whatever, to investigate. Both of those things make sense logically from your perspective, but also optically from the outside looking in. For people who are just seeing the allegations, they're like, "Oh, this guy looks guilty."
Yeah,
he's building this big sort of law team, and he's not responding, and he's like it. So it's kind of bizarre and unfortunate because like it does make sense like from a logical perspective.
I mean, because there's two things I could do. I could do an internal investigation.
Yeah,
but that's
great idea
because I don't want to audit myself.
Let your mom do it.
Yeah, exactly. I'll let my mom do it, or I could do an external one. That's what we did, and again, it's like because I didn't have control over it. Obviously, if I did, I would have been like, bro, do this in 2 weeks so I can get this out there. Like I didn't want it to take months, but I mean that's part of an external investigation. You don't have control over it.
Now, would you consider? So you obviously regret the remaining silent. Would you consider that the third party investigation as a whole, in looking back, would that have been? Would you say that's a mistake?
No, I just think I would push back on like, do I really have to be silent? Like, can I just like do this thing? Like go clap back on some of these things, but like some of these things, people were apparently talking to ex-employees or whatever, and so it just gets muddy because I really didn't want the integrity of the investigation to like be in question or anything. So I was like super paranoid where I was like, okay, this is what they said. I don't want to push back or anything, but yeah, obviously in hindsight, like. I mean, a lot of these things that were just blatantly lies. Like if I just clap back instantly, people were just like, okay, cool, and moved on.
Would you consider making some details of the investigation that have yet to be seen public? Obviously, there's like a level of confidentiality that is required legally.
Exactly. Yeah.
But like, is there anything?
Well, that's the thing. Like, what we put out as much as we could, but I mean, obviously, they did dozens of interviews, including alleged people who were victims, and I mean. Like I said, my message to my girlfriend, like they gathered a lot. So I don't really think I can. I mean, there's a lot of sensitive data and information in there.
What about like a just to back up your claims to their
but things on like how like they did it independently and they weren't biased. Yeah. Like that side. I mean, I don't really know what people would want to see, but yeah, I mean, we can figure it out.
Just from what I know about like retainer contracts with lawyers and working with, third-party investigations, things like which I don't have any experience with anything that big, obviously.
Yeah.
But maintaining a level of compliance, like, I mean, if there's like a retainer contract, something showing that, you shouldn't.
Now, this is where I'm ignorant. Like, I don't even know really what a retainer contract is. But
yeah, I mean, like
if there's any way I could, of course.
Like your third party saying, Jimmy, don't talk, like just basically giving credence to what you're saying even more. Gotcha. So more evidence of what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, that would be something I'd have to like go talk to the team on. But,
yeah,
I mean,
that would help.
If that's something where people desperately want transparency, I mean, we can figure something out.
Yeah, I that would just help me. I'm not sure if people, honestly, I don't know if people would give a fuck.
Yeah, but, I don't know either.
I would,
because if people are like, we think Coin Emanuel's biased, like even no matter what I show them, if they think a top tier law firm would willingly potentially tank their rep for me, like I don't know if there's anything that's ever
it's
to
foolish,
convince them.
Right?
Yeah,
it is foolish, and it makes sense. But once again, it's like optically, there is a very easy, lowest common denominator way to look at stuff.
Yeah. And also, what I would say to those people is I'm here, so it's not like I'm like maybe that argument would work if I just never did anything, but I'm here. So
In the lion's den.
yes, controlled opposition towards me. Hey, also, I'd love to say, I don't know if he's posting this chronologically or whatnot, but I mean, he also did interview DogPack multiple times. So it's
multiple times.
because I could have done this with anyone, but I think this one makes sense because you've literally had the other side on here. So
Yeah, and also to be clear as well, I have not signed like an NDA or.
fuck.
I mean, there's genuinely nothing that's been signed. You haven't given me $1 million.
No. Hey, you should say I haven't given you a penny.
A penny.
You
Okay,
gave me 999.
Nothing. You've given me nothing, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually just, it's kind of interesting. It really is interesting. This is a bold move, I would consider. It's quite a bold move.
And it's even more bold because I'm never vulnerable on camera. And like,
yeah, it's from a lot of perspectives, it is quite bold. And it's not like I haven't been critical. I feel like I've been fairly critical. I feel, and like talking to you, I feel bad, you know, obviously because I'm a person, there's different levels to how much you care about shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it is, if there were a testament, it would be, that would be a testament to this being being a meaningful source of information, this video, I feel like, I hope.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
This is definitely outside my comfort zone, but I think it's important.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so that's kind of past like the main initial allegations. We can move on to sort of corporate culture and HR practices. That's been a big sort of point that a lot of critics have hammered home.
Yep.
Yeah,
we're just getting right into the hard-hitting stuff.
Hell yeah. So there have been a lot of questions about your workplace culture, such as a lack of diversity or also HR problems.
Yeah.
What, if anything, have you done to address these concerns? How have you handled it since information came out, and how do you plan on handling it in the future?
Okay, so we'll start with the diversity one. If I forget the HR one, just bring it up when I finish that one. Diversity, I have seen a lot of people mention that about our company, which, I mean, that one's just not even true. Like, I mean, Feastables, for example, a couple months old, but like almost 70% of our company is women. And we actually, because we do dub studios around the world, now zooming out of Feastables over to content, I mean, we actually have pretty crazy amount of diversity in our company. So because, you know, we have 400 people that work for me. It's not just me and the boys on the camera, which is the 5 you see. So that one, the few people have claimed that like they don't have any data to back it up. So I guess I probably should have brought some data here. I don't want to just say percentages off the top of my head.
If you have, I'm sure you've got some kind of
but I really, that one I just don't think is rooted in anything. And then what was the second part?
HR, yeah. How have you handled HR problems? What HR problems have popped up?
So that one, I mean, it's a little bit of a general question, but yeah, I mean, obviously, in general, a lot of people, I've seen a lot of things about, you know, HR stuff in my company. And I think one thing people don't have is just the context. Like, I think they think my channel is just like 5 people or 10 people or 20, whatever. Like, they don't realize the size of it. Like, specifically, because our videos have gotten so big, I mean, I'm going to give a little range because depending on how many people we've hired in the last month, it's somewhere between like 250 or 300 people work at my production company, you know? So this is a big company. There's a lot of people. And then on top of that, when we do like bigger videos where we need to build big sets or whatever, sometimes we bring in hundreds of contractors. So there's a lot of people that work here. And like, I just want to blanketly say, like, companies at this size, like, you know, you can't ever guarantee that every interaction everyone's going to have is always going to be positive with each other. You know what I mean? That's just impossible. So I want to start off by just saying that because I don't want people to watch this and then like a year from now, like hear some rumor and be like, oh, Jimmy didn't learn. Like any company of this size, there's always going to be some problem someone has. Now, having said that, I'm not trying to use it as like a blanket of like, and shield myself. There are 2 things that are like someone in my position who runs a company like this is in control of. One is, you know, making sure we're not fostering anything inappropriate and, you know, allowing it. And then 2, when it inevitably happens, because it just will in a company my size. And I'm trying to be transparent here. Like it's, you know, how do you respond to it? And then like, in the making sure you're not fostering it, part of Quinn and Manuel, when we had them do their investigation, is I had them look at every system in my company. I had them talk to my employees and if, you know, see if there's anything they could bring to Quinn and Manuel's attention that they could make me aware of. And like, I think it was in the report, is like we established an anonymous hotline because Quinn and Manuel was showing me data that like sometimes people don't feel comfortable talking to HR or their boss. And like, if you have an anonymous hotline that goes to someone outside the company that can hear a complaint and then beam it into you without disclosing who it was, like you'll get more honest feedback, because there's so they showed us a lot of things like that. Also making sure we're not fostering it. Like I think it's also in there as well. We leveled up like our C-suite, because I've had a lot of people that have grown with me, but like me, they've never ran a company that has hundreds of employees before. So I actually just hired a couple people who have worked on Fortune 500 companies who have actually ran companies of this size before. And so, they've shown me lots of things that bigger companies do that obviously I'm just ignorant on because I'm a YouTuber. You know what I mean? I spend my life staring at retention charts and CTR, not how to structure a business. So just that's phase one, is making sure you're not fostering, a culture that supports that stuff. And then inevitably, like I said, you can't ever guarantee when you're working with hundreds of people full time, and then when you add part-time people, potentially over 1,000 sometimes, you just got to make sure if there are issues that, actual real issues, like if someone complains because someone peed on a toilet seat, like right. I'm not, oh well. But if there's an actual serious issue, then, we'll bring in professionals who experience and, getting down to it, interview them, gather the information. I'll recuse myself. I don't want to be the arbiter of truth. And then, those experts who are experienced in handling those things, they'll tell me how to handle it. If they tell me to fire someone, I fire them. If they tell me to whatever, I'll do it. You know what I mean? I don't want to be the one who makes those decisions. So, and transparency, that's kind of,
So I think this is one where a lot of YouTubers, people who have covered this type of thing, don't really understand that HR is a real living and breathing organism in business, and if you don't maintain it, it can become a problem for a normal business. But when your business is someone like you whose reputation is on the line, I also have a bunch of businesses. I've got 60 employees, and we have an HR department. And something happens once a month where someone gets an anonymous report, and then we have to solve that problem, and then we actually
you're evil.
Yeah, and that's that's how it feels sometimes. Yeah. But I'm not involved, obviously, in that stuff, and my YouTube side is very compartmentalized. So the way that I do that, it makes sense to me. I want to be as detached as much as possible from the day-to-day operations of the actual business. You're saying you're running the company. Is there a world in which what is your job title? Is there a world in which you step back and you are just not an actor necessarily, but you're the guy, you're Mr. Beast, and you let the business be operated by an entity to where you can stand beside it essentially, instead of being at the head of it?
No, I mean, at the end of the day, it's my channel. It's my company. So I wouldn't take it that far. I think the big thing is just bringing in people who have actually ran a company at this size before, because eventually I will be more educated and knowledgeable. Every day I'm learning more on how to properly run a company with hundreds of people and better do it. But I'm still very ignorant. I probably crossed 100 employees 3 years ago or 2.5 years ago, but it's still just growing. So because across everything, if you include Feastables and ViewStats, we have over 400 employees. So it's a learning thing. But that's the thing. While I'm learning, I need to bring in people who have been there and learn from them.
Yeah, because there's no replacement for just experience, right?
Exactly.
You can be as smart as anybody, but if you haven't been able to go through the things you've gone through and things just personally that I know that I've gone through and learned from business, it's not possible to know. It's not possible to know how to react to those things, or that's why I sort of try to do my best to compartmentalize my business. Obviously, different beast than what you're operating, but it just it's just it's difficult, and it does make sense. And you've used the word ignorant a couple times. I'd be interested to see how changes are made after this, which you've already made a lot of changes. Obviously, the anonymous reporting is the biggest one for HR. Yeah, that's been a repeat.
And it's that's one of those things where it's not I was oh, we don't need. I just didn't know. I never seen the data they showed me, and if any other people have this kind of stuff, I'm always open to learning.
Of course, yeah. And I think the most important thing too is at the end of the day, you've got the most to gain from all this.
Exactly. I want my employees happy. I gain nothing out of them not being happy. It hurts me. It's I have a monetary incentivization to do this kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah, and that's why I feel the criticism of entities like yours and even mine, with truth, obviously, and logic, and there's a real basis, a rationale that makes sense, that's centered in reality. Yeah. I feel that's super important because once again, you have so much to gain, and you spend less, you make a little bit less money, but your employees are substantially happier, and they feel safer or just more confident in you as their leader or their boss. So it's like, it's interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how all this kind of goes from here after this point, especially.
Yeah.
Because this is a big moment.
I know. The interview, the day of the interview.
But that makes sense, though. I mean, and like I don't want to continuously interject my own business experience, but I think it does set me apart from other YouTubers who are involved in this, in that I do have business experience. From it's sort of the same thing. I just fell into running actual businesses and having to do payroll and HR, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Exactly.
I had no idea any of this stuff existed, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm gonna get fucked. Your mom was previously head of your HR department. And some people have criticized that as a conflict of interest. Did you personally, at the time, even consider that? And do you now also acknowledge that that is a conflict of interest?
Oh, I agree. That's a dumb thing to do.
Yeah.
I do think context matters, though, because like this is where a lot of these things that I assume we're going to talk about is like people conflate current Mr. Beast with 400 employees and spending hundreds of millions of dollars a year with Mr. Beast when he's a teenager and starting. I mean, when I first started hiring people, it was like, oh, we went to high school together. You want to help me make videos? And I hired a couple of my friends from high school. And then I was like, how do I do taxes and this kind of stuff? And I was like, Mom, help. And I mean, I wouldn't say she's head of HR. I mean, she was, I guess, but she's also running finance, and it's not like a real company. We just get in this like little $700 no, actually that one was $1,080 a month office I was renting, and I'd just be like to this one guy that I knew from high school, all right, today you're gonna go paint this thing. Today, you, friend number 2, you're gonna like help me edit this, and you, friend number 3, you're gonna go to the store and buy 1,000 chickens that like scream when you press down on them. And Mom, I don't know, just make sure the IRS doesn't sue me. Like that's the time frame we're talking about here. But yes, I agree. Like it's stupid. Like you definitely shouldn't have your mom as an HR person. You should just hire someone who was educated in HR, which is obviously what we have. We have an HR team now. Yeah. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think, and that's sort of like one of the weird things from just a business perspective. Once again, it's like someone becomes HR by default. Yeah. Even if you don't say, well, this is the HR person, this is our contact.
I mean, because like back then, it's like, I mean, if you had a problem, just tell me. There's like 5 of us.
That's true. Yeah,
but yes, but still, I'm like, in this, I'm not trying to like deflect everything. Like, I mean, yes, obviously you should hire an actual HR person. Agreed.
That's good advice.
Yes.
That's sound advice. I do agree with that.
Shocker.
Totally. Yeah, crazy. The no doesn't mean no policy that was criticized. That was crazy. I mean, when I first saw that, I was like, what the fuck?
Wait, you're answering for me. Let me answer.
Hold on. It was criticized, especially by Soggy recently, of having been taken out of context. Can you explain what the no doesn't mean no policy was and why it was in the...
Yes. So, yeah. So... It's funny, even the word like policy, it's like, so when we started hiring more people, I wrote this little, I almost like advice book just for a lot of employees because I wasn't able to talk with people as much as I was early on. And one part of it that people, when this thing got leaked, and I wrote it with some other people in my company, it wasn't just me, but when this got leaked, there's a section that said no does not mean no. And then they just like cropped that out. And they're like, look, this is proof Jimmy's immoral and evil. When obviously, like you were saying, if you read the context below, it makes sense. The gist of why we had a section that said no does not mean no is because we do, I don't know if anyone's ever seen our videos, crazy things that have never been done before, right? No one's ever, on YouTube at least, buried themselves alive for 7 days. No one like tries to dangle an obstacle course from cranes. And it's like, the problem I kept running into early on when I was hiring people is I'd be like, hey, I want to do this. And then they would go call someone. So like, let's say the obstacle course in the sky where we had like this obstacle courses that Mac did held up by these cranes weighed like 100,000 pounds or whatever. Like they would call crane companies and they'd be like, no. And then they'd be like, okay, hang up. And they'd come to me and they'd go, Jimmy, they said, no, we can't do it. The video's not possible. And it's like, okay, well, of course they're going to say no because everything we do has never been done before. But like, ask them why. And like, obviously, if they don't be rude, but if they say no, just try to understand why, right? And a lot of times you'll have an instance where like, well, we can't get all the cranes at one time because we're renting them out. And it's like, okay, perfect. We respect that. But can I offer something before you actually hard say no? What if we went to the 2 or 3 other clients that day that rented the cranes? We paid them 5 times the amount of money they paid to rent those cranes to just, rent them a week later. And let's just see. And then the company would usually be like, oh, you would do that? It's like, yeah, like we want to work with you to find a solution to make your problem our problem and solve it. And then like, then a hard no will 50% of the time turn into, oh, well, yeah, actually we can do it if you're willing to spend a little extra money or whatever. So that was me trying to educate my employees on that. And somehow, well, I don't know. I'm not even going to say somehow. I know how. I mean, people who didn't care about the truth and just, wanted to spread disinformation and manipulate and lie to millions of people, which it worked, spun that into, I mean, I'm not even going to state the obvious, but I mean, which made no sense because the context for it was literally written right below it. But I mean, that just shows the ill will intent of certain people.
Yeah, because no doesn't mean no. I mean, that is like, there's just a massive, heavy negative connotation with that, obviously, in the zeitgeist. So, yeah, I mean, that makes perfect sense in a vacuum, or, in with this context, it does make perfect sense, but you got to see, if I were to be like, yeah, this guy, Mr. Beast, he's getting canceled for all kinds of crazy shit, and he has a no doesn't mean no policy. Anyways, like, that's crazy.
I know.
That's fucking
And you should
insane.
throw it on screen so your viewers can
so
see.
they can actually see the
so you
full
can see
thing,
the context because it clearly lays it out. So no one actually saw that and thought what these channels were implying.
Yeah.
They just willfully were ignorant so they could get 1 out of 10s and make some money. I mean, that's the truth. Like, I'm sorry, but
Now on to sort of content production and the question of authenticity behind the content that you make. There have been claims that you use some CGI in your videos, that is computer-generated imagery. Do you think the use of CGI can undermine the credibility or authenticity of the content that you're making? And if so, why do you choose to use it?
good question. And yes, I do think rampant use of CGI can undermine it. And I try to do my best to be transparent. Did you ever see So Crispy's video where they showed the behind the scenes of our Squid Game video?
I did, yes.
Yeah, so we've done that. We've done lots of BTS videos on them, and we've done other BTS videos. So I try to show it transparently, but let me think about it. I mean, honestly, the truth is, like, obviously there are channels like Corridor Digital and stuff like that, but can you really think of any, like, entertainment channels like mine that really do this, like, even have the budgets to kind of do this kind of stuff? It's something I've always thought a lot about, because, like, we're really pushing boundaries, and, like, I want to, like, keep leveling things up, and I think that's a cool way to do it. But it's not like there's some, like, playbook on how to, like, incorporate it, right? Because no one else really does it. Mm-hmm. Like, something I was thinking about is, like also we rarely use it. Like, I mean, maybe like 0.1% of my shots. Like, if we have like a background that, like, doesn't look too cool, like, it's just like black, but it looks a little off, we'll just, like, darken it out in post. Like, that's, like, majority of what we do. Or sometimes we'll extend a set. But I was thinking, like, when we do, because we pour millions of dollars into these videos. We build massive sets. Like, we go through so much links to make these huge videos. And the last thing I want is people to be, like, questioning whether or not things are CGI. I mean, like, the sets we build are fucking crazy, man. Like, it's wild. Like, you should come see the, like, behind the scenes of it. I mean, sometimes we spend 100 days just literally building one room for one shot of one video.
That's insane.
So yeah, I was thinking, like, maybe just potentially, I don't know, this is the first time I'm saying it publicly, like, time stamping in the description when we do.
That's interesting.
Yeah, or, like, having some, like, gimmicky thing where, like, whatever we do, we, like, put, like, a little Beast logo on it, so it's, like, a thing that if people wanted to identify, they could. I mean, I'm down to figure something out. I mean, we just don't really use it that much. It's just, like, a thing few and far between. But what I really don't want is people to not be able to trust my videos just because occasionally I want to make a wall blacker, or like, I want to extend a set a little bit just to make it look cooler, and like you feel in tune with it. Because what we do on its own is insane. You know what I mean? Like, we don't need it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and to be fair to, I totally get what you're saying, and, like, the logic for the CGI call doesn't really make a lot of sense to me personally. To me, maybe it would undermine the credibility if you're, like, changing things genuinely, or, like, you have an outcome that's the thumbnail and you're only getting it by manipulating. But, like, there are times in my videos where my head is bigger than my head in real life because my editors make it bigger. That's CGI, right? Yeah. The words, the subtitles in your video, they're not real. That's CGI, technically.
True. Yeah.
So it's like, there's just it's just that one's like a really sort of slippery slope. But I think that's a good idea. If you were to put timestamps, or, if you sort of are transparent about AI generative content, that's something that you could do as the biggest content creator in the world, to be even more ethical than is really necessary.
Yeah. The only thing is then, which I'm down. Like I want to keep brainstorming these things out. It's just like you said, like I in my head, I didn't even think of text on the bottom as CGI, and like everyone might have a little different definition of it. So I just want to make sure, like, you know, what I would classify as it. Like, and so, but agreed. There's some solution here, or just stop using it. Like, it doesn't even matter. Like, I mean, we build crazy sets. It's usually just to make them look 1% cooler.
You can figure it out.
Yeah. So there is some answer here. Like, that's not a thing that scares me. You know what I mean?
Definitely, yeah. I think people would appreciate the transparency on that as well. Like, because it's, I mean, reality television. It's all extremely manipulative, and I think that's like the basis of it. So if you were to sort of go above and beyond even the worst, you know, whatever competitors that you don't even really have on YouTube and put like a Beast logo or timestamps, I personally think that would be kind of cool.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think that'd be sort of epic. There was an allegation that you used CGI to create the impression that you guys built a hospital, part of a hospital, in order to deceive viewers or, you know, manipulate them into believing that you did more than you actually did.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, no, that's a great one. Honestly, truthful, dumb mistake. At the start of one of our Beast Philanthropy videos, they were trying to show what this like building looked like in the past, and in the past that hospital wasn't there, so they removed it in the editing. Which and this is just like a small part of this isn't even like the point of the video was that we built this hospital or whatever. There was just a shot at the beginning, but some people saw that and like thought we did build it, which is not the intention, and so it's just a dumb mistake. Like, trust me, when I saw that, I talked to the editors. I was like, come on, like, you know, I have 100 editors, and obviously we have a bunch of different channels and things like that, so it's hard for me to like speak with all of them, but it was just truthfully a silly mistake. But we never said we built that hospital or anything, but I could see how some people might perceive that we were trying to like give off that we were. And it's a little unfortunate because Beast Philanthropy, my YouTube channel, how do I say this where it's like I'm not trying, like, is literally owned by a 501c3. Like, it's a YouTube channel that is a nonprofit, which is crazy. Like, as far as I know, that's the only one. And Beast Philanthropy does so much good. And like that, you know, the only reason people, this is what's funny, because like to the people like trying to call me evil and say we fake philanthropy, the only reason anyone even knows any of this is because we actually did a behind the scenes video on that video. So like clearly I wasn't aware of this because we did BTS and we were the ones who revealed this information. You know what I mean? So like if we were trying to hide things, like we wouldn't have done BTS on that video. That's how people got this information. So it's just like a little mistake, but it's sad because now people are using that to point at our Beast Philanthropy channel, which does a lot. I mean, it will just scroll through the videos. I mean, whether we're building schools in Africa or, I mean, and giving electricity to remote villages, or we're giving clothes to people who don't have it, or we're feeding people. I mean, it does a lot of really good projects. Now, truthfully, that channel is struggling to get brand deals because of all the slander on it, because everyone, you know, has convinced advertisers that the videos are fake and that it doesn't actually do philanthropy. And it's like, it does. And just like one little editing mistake on one of dozens of videos. Like, I mean, it's unfortunate because it's actually having a pretty severe impact on the charity and its image. And like, I don't know, just unfortunate.
You think the impact is not obviously just the CGI hospital edit, but just the entire situation in general?
No, I mean, of course, the entire general situation, but no, after that hospital thing, a lot of people made videos saying Beast Philanthropy is fake and saying we fake our philanthropy, and it's specifically attacking it. And then, you know, like that whole 100% of the revenue on the charity, on the channel is what we use to fund the charity. And that like spooked off a lot of people because they're like, oh, so this charity is not authentic. Because like obviously people don't want to work with the charity that's not legit, which Beast Philanthropy is as legit as it gets. Just one little editing mistake, which I get now. I'm sounding like I'm downplaying. I mean, it was just a mistake in editing. Doesn't discredit all the projects Beast Philanthropy has done around the world and the tens of thousands of lives it's changed. And I mean, yeah, it's just unfortunate.
Yeah, I would say that's a fair admission too, because it's like, you know, and once again, optically, you're the guy who's talking about, you know, spending 26 hours a day looking at data, and, you know, every decision, every single frame that's in a video is like combed over, and then that is a mistake, obviously, that you're capable of making, your team is capable of making, and like the whole thing is capable of making, and people, you know, they'll compare and contrast whether they know or not. Like, they think everything you're doing is 110% deliberate.
Yeah, well, that's the unfortunate part, because like, if someone, again, just to be clear, the only reason anyone even knows is because we did BTS. So I mean, but if that would have happened, 8 months ago, I would have just responded to a tweet saying my bad and just like re-edited it in YouTube Editor and just added a voiceover, and it would have been fine. It's just now that, due to those circumstances, everyone's like, we finally got the proof. The philanthropy's fake. He's fake. And like, let's tear it out as charity. And yeah, I mean, but yeah, it's just a silly editing mistake. Like, the VO we should just had VO over that clip just saying we didn't build this hospital. But it was also not even the whole point of the video. It's just like, if you watch it, it's just a clip at the start. It's literally not even what the video is about.
Mm-hmm.
So
you've mentioned the behind the scenes footage of that, specifically the hospital video in regard to your philanthropy channel. Would you be willing to or consider releasing like more detailed behind the scenes footage or a breakdown of that with the VO you're talking about? Or the editors who worked on it and sort of their thoughts and opinions or whatever, because they're the ones working on it, right? Like, what
on
was
that
their
video
intention?
specifically?
Yeah, or just in general.
Yeah, well, that one in specifically. I mean, we're owning up to it. I mean, I don't want to put them on blast publicly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was a silly little mistake. Obviously, we talked about how we could prevent it in the future, but I'm sure, shocker, at some point we're gonna have some other editing mishap over. Yeah. So I mean, that's not something I can't guarantee will ever happen again. Mm-hmm. But like, we're doing our best to make sure it doesn't. But in general, I would love to do more behind the scenes. Like, mm-hmm. I think throughout all this, I think what is causing some of this is like confusion is because there is so much mystery around how we do our videos, because people don't know how we do it. It's like, it's almost easier to believe there is this like they're fake or they're rigged, and he didn't actually build a bunker and put it underground and have two people live in it for 100 days and record the entire time and do all this. It's almost getting to the point where it's easier to believe it's not real. And I think like just having more transparency and doing behind the scenes would help. I've been wanting to do that for a little bit. It's just, truthfully, I just got to build the team. I was, we're looking into getting some editors and like a person dedicated for doing it. Like, cause we have to like intentionally film those shots.
Right.
A lot of it is like, so we're like building out the team. It's just like, it just takes time. Like, you even need someone who will make the thumbnails for it. And, like, I also don't want there to be editing mistakes in this. So I need someone who's doing QC. And that's like a really important thing, because I don't want them to post it and make a claim in the BTS that's not true and say, hey, we spent $500,000 on this bunker, and it was actually $480,000, right?
Yeah.
Which is, these are the little kinds of things that, because I have such a large company, people will do, and they think it's innocent, but it's like, no, like, but at the end of the day, it's my name on it. And so it's like, in theory, it seems simple. Like, oh, you're already filming, just throw a BTS. But there's a whole big process in it to make sure that's also true and authentic and good and actually edited well. And so, I mean, I don't know when I'll be able to build out the team and get it right, but I think that will help a lot. If people knew like the effort and work that went into the videos and like just how we do it, I think they would look at it differently and be like, oh, okay, I see.
Yeah, and I think to circle back a little bit, I don't think even showing the, in behind the scenes, like if that were to have existed specifically with like the philanthropy stuff or another time where you're adding CGI or whatever, if you had the intention of the people who are doing it, in that behind the scenes footage, it wouldn't be necessarily even putting them on blast or showing any mistake. You would have from the very beginning transparency.
Yeah.
So I think that would be, I'm
on
awesome.
The same page here. Hey, if anyone watching this wants to help work on my BTS channel, I'm actually serious. We're actively hiring and trying to figure it out. So I mean, yeah. I really think that would help a bunch. Like, just plus, I just want to show people how we do this stuff. Like, it's pretty crazy the stuff we're doing now. I
mean, realistically, it sounds like some of these problems. If like there was just sort of, you have the opportunity now to just be like super ethical and hire a couple more teams for transparency and do something that not only the 300 million subscriber YouTuber, but like you are leaps and bounds ahead of everybody else in terms of like transparency.
Yeah.
Which people really like that type of stuff. Even if they don't like search out for it, they just like to see someone who's honest and relatable.
I agree.
And like you guys are really good at this insane Mr. Beast thing, but like you said, even with sort of talking about the allegations in the beginning. You didn't want to make a video where you're just sitting, it just feels cringe and awkward.
Yeah, no.
Like it makes sense, right? Like I get your perspective and the outsider's perspective. It's cool to see, how it's not cool to see how angry people can get, but it is cool to see that there is a possible answer to those situations, like being super ethical and transparent in a way that nobody else has ever been before.
I agree.
Yeah, I feel like you could probably do that. So there's evidence that you put your previous employees, friends, whatever, controlled opposition
Yes.
In your challenge videos, such as the 100 boys versus 100 girls video.
Yeah.
Did you put them in that video or videos like that specifically to rig the outcome
Of the challenge.
of the challenge? And if so, do you think that's acceptable, Mr. Beast?
I know. That one was a big one. Videos talking about my 100 boys versus 100 girls video in the last couple months. That one, people really talked about that one. So yes, Soggy's video, he talked about this and uncovered it. I'm surprised more people didn't. Like my girlfriend after that video literally went on a podcast and described this. So it's not even like this was hidden information. This has been out there.
You were in the video 100 girls versus 100 boys for $500,000.
Yes. On the day, everybody had to go for COVID tests, and a lot of people came, got their COVID tests, and they tested positive. And the girls somehow ended up with way too little contestants. So I got a call randomly from the studio, and they're like, we need a female. I'm like, well, I am a female. I guess I could do this 100-hour challenge.
Were you dating at the time?
Yes.
And did the others know you were dating Mr. Beast at the time?
They pretended that they didn't, but I think some of them caught on.
Did he like move to the side of the circle and just
Oh,
check
no,
up on
he
you?
avoided eye contact at all costs.
But I mean, literally, like she said on the podcast, we had 100 boys, 100 girls. They're competing in a video. Leading up to the video, they're supposed to quarantine. This was years ago when, at the height of COVID. A lot of questions people have about my videos, like that in these recent things I've noticed, usually the answer is like COVID, like why things aren't as like we would normally do it. But in this instance, they quarantined. When they showed up to the studio, a couple people on both sides tested positive for COVID. We didn't have them all in a group. We, isolated, tested. And so now I'm stuck with a tough decision because we have all these people who just took off work for a week and took even more days off work to film this video. A couple people on each side of the 100 girls, 100 boys tested positive for COVID. I can't go grab random people off the street because they haven't quarantined, right? And back then, I think COVID tests are better now, but back then, it took like 2 days for the COVID test to be able to pick up whether or not you had COVID. Something like that. Not a doctor. This isn't Joe Rogan. I obviously, no one knows that though, right? I could have just gone and grabbed random people off the street and it would have been fine. But I was trying to like be protective of the contestants. So my employees were routinely quarantining back then because, in the studio and things like that, we didn't want an outbreak. So I just went to the employees who weren't working on the 100 girls versus 100 boys video and was like, hey, I don't want to cancel this video. Who wants to be in it? And so a couple of them volunteered, filled in the empty gaps. My girlfriend quarantined with me, so I threw her in there. And then we got the numbers up. I was good. The video's on. And yeah, they were competing for money like everyone else. Transparency. I'll look at the camera. No, they were not there to rig it. I did not tell them what to get out. I did not tell them what to do. They had their own free will. And I really didn't think too much of it. And, here we are a couple years later, and that's turning into proof that I put employees in videos to rig them and script them, and they're just filling in for some people who got COVID.
Yeah, I think it's another situation in which it's like, sure, there's evidence or whatever of both or whatever. It's like a trust me bro versus a trust me bro.
But this one's not even a trust me bro. Like, I mean, my girlfriend literally years ago said on a podcast all of this. So it's not even like I'm retroactively making this up. I mean,
right.
I could probably go pull up COVID tests and show you. I mean, it's
just in terms of like the interpretation of what people have for that specific event. Like when someone like you or someone with this big thing, people just see who they don't care. They see, oh, he's using his friends. Like obviously it's fucking rigged. But they're not going to look into it. It's just optically, like there's so many things that it's really easy. Like there's like such a crazy slippery slope for a lot of this stuff.
And it's like, the thing is, I mean, I could have been like, oh, people got COVID and canceled it. And then we'd be sitting here talking about how I had these people quarantined for 7 days and then I just rug pulled them. You know what I mean? And so like, it's a little bit of damned if you, damned if you don't. Like either way, I'd be sitting here talking to you about it, So I just tried to take the most ethical, moral stance and, prioritize health. And yeah,
I mean, that's fair. Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, hopefully now that people hear the truth, they agree as well. But yeah, I mean, it's been brutal hearing that misinformation be spread.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I can't imagine that, to be honest. I mean, there's a lot of people who really do not like you at all.
Yeah.
How does it feel in real life? Do you feel it in real life at all, or is it just internet?
No, it's just the internet. We talked a little bit before this. I mean, also, it's late at night. I just flew here to do this. This is a very impromptu thing.
Yeah.
But for like the 10 minutes we were talking before we started recording, I was telling him like, no one in real life has any idea of any of this. Like I meet hundreds of people and they're all just like, yo, what's up, Mr. Beast? They never bring it up.
Yeah.
But then you would open up Reddit. I mean, it doesn't help that they're censoring positive posts, but, and you would think, well, actually, now that I'm saying it out loud, that does make sense. You would think everyone hates me because anyone who does it, their post gets deleted. So actually, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it's like, and even some of the YouTubers that I know, like you mentioned sending a clip to YouTubers and they're like, well, it's just not cool. I don't want to be seen as a Mr. Beast glazer. I mean, even the sort of feelings amongst YouTubers, the people who their responsibility is to, well, responsibility, very loose use of the term, to talk about anything online or whatever, you know, even they're afraid or they just don't want, like, so it's just the internet. There's this really weird, you know, the sort of echo chamber. Not that obviously everything that you've done is can just be swept under the rug. I mean, you've admitted to mistakes. I think that everything that you that is a genuine mistake, you once again have the most to gain from all this. So it's not going to fucking hurt you to just admit where you're wrong or whatever. Yeah, I think that that's a very interesting one, the 100 boys versus 100 girls video, because to me, without looking into it at all, it's like that does seem weird, right? Like it just seems like once again a conflict of interests. But at the same time, you're making YouTube videos. You're not making like, I don't know. You can endlessly make excuses for it and against it. It seems like that's why I'm saying it's kind of.
I mean, I think between like the contestants and people we've given stuff to in videos, like pretty confidently say like less than 1% of it's employees. So you know, if you were to take everyone who's ever been in the video, so like we're like, and a lot of it was like I said during the COVID time, where it's just like, well, I'm trying to be responsible, and I know so it's like, I mean, I think when you look at it through those lenses, I feel like any rational person would be like, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's fair. Yeah. Okay, so now on to the response to critics. So the first person really to respond to critics was Chucky. But the second person, it seemed like, was SoggysCereal, YouTuber, commentary YouTuber. And he made a video, and he's been, you know, that video is sort of blowing up a little bit. It's not quite to the level of DogPack's video when it first came out, but it's, you know, it's coming up, and he did his best to disprove a lot of DogPack's claims, and even held you accountable for a lot of stuff in his video, which I thought was good. I thought his video was pretty good. I liked his video a lot, and I like him a lot. I've talked to him since that came out. I've talked to him a couple times. Yeah, he has criticized you today and last night, I think, you know, to sort of timestamp when this video is being recorded so people know. He said, Soggy's criticized you sharing his video with other YouTubers as a way to shield yourself from criticism, you know, like DMing the video to people. He also expressed feeling used by you, given that you used his video as a strategy to gather favor from the public, which, you know, that's pretty wordy. It's like it just happened today. It's got to be something like, how do you feel about him feeling that way? Because he's not really defending you. He's more so trying to hold light to truth, which I appreciate that massively. And I do, you know, talking to him, I do believe that he is an honest guy. How do you interpret his responses on Twitter if you've seen them? Have you seen them?
Yeah, I've seen them. I mean, I interpret as him just trying to be honest with his audience and just expressing how he feels. And I think, you know, obviously he probably in his head, if he was even being more honest, he'd probably be like, Jimmy, why don't you just say these things? Why am I saying it? You know, and I think obviously now that I'm here and doing this, that will alleviate it. But I could see how it feels. Like, obviously I saw that video and it, you know, disproved. I mean, there are some things in there I don't agree with, and he does go pretty hard on me, so which people seem to forget. But there are a lot of things in there that he disproved, and yeah, I mean, I got excited and shot it over to a bunch of creators who covered the false information, and was just like, look, you know, I could see how, you know, that looks like I'm hiding behind it. Luckily, I'm here talking to you, so I don't think that will be a problem anymore. But obviously, you know, he's not, when he tweeted that, he, you know, doesn't know we were doing this, doesn't know this is coming out. I mean, he might now. I don't, you know, you talk to him, but yeah. So like, I don't blame him. You know what I mean? It's a reasonable thing. Like, I think if I were to read a little between lines, he's just saying like, I don't want to be a shield. Jimmy, say something. You know what I mean? Like, actually go address things and like.
Yeah, because he's really not defending you. He's just disproving DogPack. Like that.
Exactly.
That's the primary kind of driver, or that's how I interpreted his video. I was like, oh, this is pretty balanced. I like him. He's a cool dude. So
yeah, he didn't go with the grain and disproved a lot of things. But yeah, also went kind of hard on me too. So, but yeah.
He's not a big fan of Lunchley.
He's not. That's one thing for sure. He does not like Lunchley.
By commenting on his video, you left a comment on Soggy's video after it was posted. You said, "This is finally a video that doesn't spread baseless slander about me."
Yeah, I mean,
lol.
obviously that was a stupid comment. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, how do you think that looks? I mean,
Yeah, dumb.
Yeah.
Agreed.
okay.
Especially the LOL. That's yeah.
Yeah.
Next
sad, yeah.
question. Dumb.
Yeah.
The answer, dumb. Yes.
Okay. That's fair. Yeah, I guess so. So yeah, it's like it kind of gives weight to you sort of taking the situation lightly. Like if anybody should be taking the situation lightly, it should be like me or Soggy or people like people who aren't actively involved in the situation. How would you put that worry, that concern at ease for someone who's like willing to give you the benefit of the doubt, which I think is super important. And you say something like that, and then it seems like you are taking the situation in general lightly.
Yeah. No, I mean that's a good question. I mean honestly, there's just a lot of disinformation that was correct in that video. And I just wrote that comment, and then right afterwards sent it to a couple of YouTubers, which because just like finally this this thing is here. But I agree. Like dumb comment.
Legal and ethical issues. I feel like this is probably going to be a little bit more sort of. We're going to need some facts on screen to back up like whatever's being said here, just to because like there's only so much you can say.
Yeah.
So, and Soggy did a good job of sort of disproving a lot of these claims just in general, or giving weight to ones that deserve to have weight given to them.
Yeah.
So watch his video. Obviously, he did a lot of work on this stuff. So Dawson claimed that you ran multiple illegal lotteries, and in Soggy's video, he sort of I think disproved 2,
Yes.
and then 1 he still believes was an illegal lottery.
Yes.
Do you believe that you ran an illegal lottery? Did you believe at the time? What was your mindset? Did you check with the FCC? Was there any compliance, any steps taken to prevent this? What is your just perspective on that?
Yes. So I don't think we did. I have people looking into it and like trying to pull the footage and figure it out. He disproved the 2, which I mean, those were crazy. I don't want to just like speculate. I have a team looking into it. I don't think we did though. But regardless, just to be truthful, if people want a refund or think for whatever reason, like we did something wrong, like I'll send you a link that you can just put in the description where they can get a refund. Maybe just throw it on the screen here.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, at the moment, that's all I really have to say. Maybe I could do a follow-up in the future. I'm trying to, dig up all the footage from that live stream. This was like many years ago. Like this isn't like something I did 3 months ago.
Yeah. COVID. It was 2020, right?
I don't remember.
I think the first one, the questionable one that Soggy had in his video was in 2020. I think it was in August 2020.
And I just don't have the footage from him, so
Yeah.
I'm looking them up.
Gotcha. Yeah. I think. I think at the very least, if people felt misled or whatever, or if it
100% request a refund.
definitely.
I mean, we do that anyways. Like on our site, if people want refunds, we give it to them. But for this specifically, we can give you a URL, throw it right here. I mean, I have no idea what it'll be, and yeah, just send us your order code. Really, no big deal.
Cool. The investigation confirmed. So the third-party investigation confirmed isolated incidents of harassment. How were these incidents addressed? And what systemic changes did you implement from after the investigation to prevent things like this from ever happening again? I'm assuming it's going to piggyback directly off the
what
the
we
HR
talked about before.
improvements. Yeah.
100%. I mean, agreed. Like we talked about before, I have hundreds of employees, and when we brought the outside third party in, and I was like, hey, talk to whoever you need to, get an honest pulse of how some people are feeling. There were some things that people hadn't made us aware of that they felt more comfortable talking to Quinn and Manuel on, which is obviously ultimately why we ended up doing the anonymous hotline and that kind of stuff. And what you asked, what did we do? How did we handle it? Like I said before, it's just whatever they told me. If they told me like I need to fire someone, we fired them. Like I mean, it's not like I don't want to be the arbiter of truth. I want people who are professional in these things to get the information, make sure they have all the facts, and I want them to tell me what to do, right? Because obviously I work with these people, and so I could have some form of bias or whatever, or maybe I like this person better, and so I like to stay away from that kind of stuff. And so I just did whatever they told me to do, to be honest.
How did you feel when you found out that a third-party investigation concluded that there were incidents of harassment in your business?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I was like, well, how can we, like we talked about before, and so I started educating myself, and I've been bringing in new leaders and people who have worked in bigger companies, and I was just like, help me make sure like this kind of stuff doesn't happen, and educate me on these kinds of things. Like, again, like this company is growing so fast. Like I keep saying the number 400 just so people realize this isn't just 10 employees making YouTube videos like it was for me 5 years ago. And so my first instinct was just like, educate me. Who do I bring in? How do we solve these things? And like I said before, it dials down to two things: making sure you're not fostering it, and then when it does happen, making sure you respond appropriately, and just like trying to learn everything I can in those two areas, and just find the best people in the world in those two areas to just review everything and make sure we're doing it correctly.
Dude, people were fired. How many people were disciplined, fired? Was it more? Like, how did that feel, knowing that there was like an amount of people that had to be disciplined, terminated, whatever, as a result of an investigation? It's kind of things just happening basically under your nose, due to a lack of business acumen or care or whatever word you would want to use.
Yeah.
How did it feel?
Well, I mean, like, I haven't even met all the people that work for me, because it's so big, and we have people all around the world and things like that, just for context. I don't want people to think like, oh, these are people I'm just working with every single day, and I was just oblivious. But I mean, it just felt like I need to improve. I need to learn more, and just I want to fix these things, So, I mean, it doesn't feel good.
Yeah. There you go. That's what I was looking for.
I'm a problem solver. When there's problems, like my default reaction, like instinct, is how do we solve it? And that's what we've been obsessing over, and I feel like we've made a lot of progress, to be honest.
Cool. Are you going to sue DogPack?
Well, there's tons of examples of him intentionally manipulating things to not be true and posting it online. Tons and tons and tons of that. Soggy has basically an hour and 27-minute video, and an hour of it is just flat out proving manipulation and lies, and caused a lot of harm to my businesses. I mean, I've literally had people pull out millions of dollars and then tell me it was directly because of his video. Don't worry, I instantly was like, can you send that in writing? So, if I win a case or anything, I can directly point damages. No reason why. And so, I mean, it's just unfortunate. Like, I don't want to be put in this situation, but probably gonna have to. I mean, it's just. I mean, what do you do if someone's just spreading misinformation about you and just causing harm to your business, and like getting it to the point where you might have to potentially fire people because it's costing you so much revenue? It's like, it's not fair to the people in my companies. You know what I mean? It's just sad. It's not a thing I take joy in, but
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. Okay, so yes.
They're not done drafting it up, but once they're done, more than likely, yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, that's
every law firm I've talked to, they're like, this would be the easiest win they've ever seen in their life. I mean, it's like crazy. I had one tell me, like, you could chop up all the evidence into like sue 3 separate times, and win all 3 cases because you'd have enough for each. Like, one person I was talking to, he's won like 67 out of his last 70 cases, and he's like, this would be literally the easiest case I've ever done. Like, it's because there's just so much blatant, misinformation and lies spread. Like, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, just go watch Soggy's video. Go look at his Twitter where he's redacted multiple ones of it. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to be in this position.
Now, what do you think? Do you think that there could be any sense of regret from that? I mean, optically, once again, there's a lot of things working against you on a constant basis because you're the biggest person in the world. On YouTube and social media, and you're just crammed down people's throats, algorithmically. Like, if you decide to sue this man, even if he deserves it or not, which is like obviously up to you.
Well, I just want the slander and disinformation to stop. It would be the bigger reason. But you're saying, when am I worried about how that would affect me PR wise?
Yeah, just what do you think?
I'm right now. I'm getting canceled because I'm not suing them, because they're saying, well, Jimmy's not suing him. Therefore, there was truth. There's Jimmy would be suing him. So at this point, I'm so big. It's kind of most scenarios are like either way. Like there's a vast negative for me. People are like, "Oh, he's not going to sue because he's worried about discovery." No, I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? Why do I care? I'm here. This is discovery. You know what I mean? And that they just no matter what I do at this point, like there's just a large group of people that are just going to be unhappy, and that's just like a reality I have to be okay with, to be honest. As long as I agree with what I'm doing and I believe in what I'm doing, I mean that's all I really can do at this point.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people, it's probably a minority. Well, it's definitely a minority of people just in general who actually care about this type of shit. But like, the silencing critics, for example, something very similar has happened. Well, not that similar, but something is happening to CoffeeZilla, who we'll talk about here in a minute as well. He's being sued. And that just, to someone like me, I care about like rationality and understanding and people being big and, communicating.
100%. And I would just say, go watch the Soggy video. Yeah. Look at all the blatant manipulation and lies. And this isn't me trying to silence them. This is me trying to this is like borderline, I owe it to my employees. Because I can't look at someone in the eyes and go, sorry, you're getting laid off because he decided to keep spreading misinformation about us. Go complain to DogPack.
Yeah, I understand. It's like, this
is bigger than me. I have a lot of people, a lot of families, a lot of kids that, work or are under, the people I employ that work for me. Like, it's not just me. Like, I can't.
Of course.
So.
And it's also, just to finish what I was going to say, it is not silencing a critic. It is preventing the spread of misinformation, proven misinformation.
Exactly.
So I think being able to make that distinction, though, is very important. And that's something to consider. Is like how do you stop the misinformation, the slander, but also don't prevent people from caring about things ethically going forward and feeling willing to criticize someone like you, even though obviously this situation, it appears quite clear cut that this is misinformation, and truth is obviously the most important thing, but also there's like a sort of a slippery slope of silencing critics and censorship and all this crazy stuff, and freedom of speech is so important, but obviously lies and slander are not protected by the freedom of speech. So it's just a big giant optical pill to swallow and consider, I feel like.
Agreed.
And I would be really interested to see your thoughts going forward, in your decisions that you decide to make. I would love to stay in the loop on that because, in the very beginning, I thought Soggy had good intentions.
Or
DogPack. Exactly, yeah. Soggy does have good intentions, in my opinion. In the very beginning, and now things obviously are, he's turned this into sort of his thing.
Good intentions, even though even the very first video literally was 90% lies.
It seemed.
You got manipulated.
Yeah,
but
of course.
That doesn't make it good intentions.
yeah. I'm just saying it seemed, and a lot of people also believe that.
Was it good intentions when he photoshopped a fake live stream and falsely accused me of not saying something I did say and falsely accused something? It was a good intentions when he put a king-size Feastables bar beside a regular-size Hershey's bar and didn't disclose that and then lied about us having more sugar than them. Was it? I mean, I could sit here and do this for the next 30 minutes.
I understand.
I think that's just a misconception that everyone has. It's like there's never good intentions.
Yeah, of course. But I'm just.
I watched that video and I was like, this is just lies. And everyone's like, oh my God. I was like, whoa.
We're just talking about optics, though.
Okay.
My point.
Optically.
Right. Optically.
People who fell for the optics. Yes.
But that's the lowest common denominator. That's what makes this entire world that we're in go round, is how people are reacting to things. You can't expect people to be. To go out of their way to give you the benefit of the doubt. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and
so it's super important to consider all that.
Yes.
But yeah, and obviously it's been proven now that he is Mr. and misinformation combined, right? It's for someone like me who actually cares about, like, I like to pretend that I care about the truth of things, and I don't want someone like you who has worked very hard objectively to get where you're at. I don't want you to be slandered or for people to lie about you, etc. But at the same time, like, you are the one who's going to win. You are the one who will always win. You're the top, right? Like, you got this big thing, so you have the most responsibility, and you've got to be the best guy.
Cognizant of the implications it would have.
Yeah.
But it's also on the reverse side. It potentially caused people to not want to spread misinformation and not slander people. So there's also the positive side of that, where people realize, like, disinformation has repercussions.
It's just something to consider.
Agreed.
Right?
I don't take the decision lightly. Trust me.
Yeah. Okay. I believe that as well. But yeah, I think that's a yeah, you're the guy. I mean, if anybody could go and be as ethical as possible and do everything as perfectly as possible and actually take the moral high ground and not just pretend, it is you. You've got all the resources. You are the guy who can do all this stuff.
Yeah.
Like, to be honest. So, yeah. I think you will. I think you'll do all this stuff cool and right, and stop slander, misinformation, etc. Yeah. Which is good. Disinformation.
Big difference.
Yeah.
Misinformation
They're cousins.
It could be an accident. Disinformation, not an accident.
Let's see. So now to move on to CoffeeZilla, one of my favorite YouTubers. There was a comprehensive report published that painted a negative light on crypto dealings allegedly associated with you. To what extent were you involved in these crypto transactions, and how do you respond to CoffeeZilla's video on you detailing these allegations? I thought he gave you a benefit of the doubt in that video.
Yeah.
I think he's a very reasonable guy, to be honest. I think he's a very smart, reasonable guy who cares about like doing the right thing, which is pretty rare on YouTube. You know, how would you respond to Coffee's video?
Yeah, Coffee's video and the report. Well, so I'll start off with the report. I mean, most people probably haven't even read it, but that's what kind of spawned that whole thing was this. Did you see it? Like that? Yeah. So the gist of this crypto report that was, 1 second, sorry, it's not my. The gist of this report was, Jimmy is too stupid to like make this kind of money. Therefore, it must be insider trading. This is his wallet. You know, clearly there was insider trading because he never would have been able to make this kind of money. When in reality, which is what I told Coffee in that statement we gave him, it was managed by a fund. So I wasn't the one managing the wallet. You know, I've never had access to that wallet. I've never done the buying and selling on that wallet. There's a actual professional who's written books on crypto and lived and breathes crypto every second of the day managing it. So most of the allegations there like are just answered by like, I am too stupid to do that. That's why a fund was managing it. You know what I mean? And yeah, I mean, like Coffee said, like if he literally said this in a video. If you like Jimmy, then you're like, yeah, he has answers for everything and just checks out. And if you don't like Jimmy, then you're going to go, you know, there's obviously wrongdoing here. But yeah, I mean, the honest truth is like, I make videos, I'm running 7 businesses. I got a lot going on. And yeah, I invested in a crypto fund. They invested on my behalf, and I've never like had access to that wallet. They're the one doing the buying and selling. I mean, there are thousands of transactions on there. Like, I don't even have that kind of time. I'm sure you could probably even look at it and see like days where I was like maybe in solitary confinement or like doing a video where I didn't even have access to a computer and there's trading.
True.
So for the conspiracy theorists that think I'm lying and using the fund as a cover up, like, I mean, there's got to be some way where you could just figure that out, like, or I was on a plane ride or something. But yeah, that's like the honest transparency is, you know, I was in a crypto fund and people thought I owned the wallet and it's called Wu-Tang Clan. Do you listen to Wu-Tang Clan?
I have, yes.
I don't.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's another indicator.
Really?
I wouldn't have named it Wu-Tang Clan.
Yeah.
I had to educate myself on what Wu-Tang Clan was. So
Okay.
yeah.
I think that's pretty interesting. Cause yeah, I mean like the whole like just YouTubers in any way being involved with crypto in any sense now is just like
Agreed. And that's why I literally put it in a fund, because I was like, I don't want to like fuck with this stuff and like be you know, I just like, I want someone who knows what they're doing to do it, to make sure things are above board. So that's literally why I did that, right? It's because I was like, if I'm buying and selling it, maybe I mess things up or do something dumb. So I was like, oh, this fund is led by someone who knows what he's doing. Here you go. You know, that was literally the whole logic behind it.
right.
Yeah.
Okay. On to some philanthropy and charitable work stuff. Soggy revealed delays in philanthropic projects such as the walking assistance video due to lost partnerships. He talked about that in his sort of disproving video. You know, how do you intend on regaining trust between that brand that is literally a vehicle for philanthropy?
Yeah.
And how do you intend on regaining trust with the brands to put money to that to generate revenue to use for?
Yeah. I mean, I hope step one is literally this video. I mean, I hope like I just need people to, just stop making videos titled "Mr. Beast fakes his philanthropy with devil horns on in the thumbnail of my head, and like just stating facts that aren't facts, because as long as people are just spreading that disinformation, I mean, it's gonna be pretty hard to convince these people. But hopefully once that dies down, I think it's just more of a time thing, because it'd be nice, because the charity definitely needs that whole disinformation thing to kind of just stop. I spend $150,000 a month. So I pay for the employee's salary. So all the revenue from the videos goes straight towards doing our projects. So I cover all this employees, a little bit of overhead, that kind of stuff. So that way, if we get a $400,000 brand deal plus the ad revenue from the video, we can spend all that money on buying shirts for homeless people or whatever it is. So I put that money in, but this this past week when we also put the $150,000 in the account, I had to put another $1 million in to make up for 2 lost brand deals. So I'm now having to plow money in on top of the $150,000 a month I'm already plowing in, on top of filming the videos and doing all that. And it's just it's just brutal, to be honest, because I can't do that forever. So because I'm already putting a lot of money into it, and so hopefully I don't know the answer. I don't have a crystal ball, but hopefully people just kind of stop slandering you. You can attack me, just don't attack the channel that's literally a 501c3. That'd be nice, to be honest.
And that one is weird to me because it's
I would unironically, this is a crazy sentence, but unironically, if instead of starting a YouTube channel, giving it to a 501c3 and filming videos and donating millions upon millions of dollars, all the revenue to a charity, and then using that to help people, if I had just started any other channel, I don't know, a channel where I just sit down and talk and kept all the money and just bought a $10 million mansion after 2 years, I think that universe where I just sit down and talk and buy a $10 million mansion and make a video on the mansion, that version of me would get maybe 1% of the shit that the version. Completely. Yeah. And so it's but that's not why I do it, because I actually would get less hate if I just stopped the Philanthropy channel, but I just want to help people and it's cool projects and I believe in what it's doing. But it's a little funny when you think about it.
I mean, it's hilarious.
Yeah.
It's absolutely... The devil horns thing. DogPack actually cut a part out of his first video about you being the Antichrist. Did you see that?
I did.
What'd you think of that? I mean, you did get here a little fast, to be honest. You teleported
The sad part is he was being serious in it. And,
he cut that part out.
And that he showed that part publicly, and people still were like, okay, well, Kim's saying Jimmy's the Antichrist because one of his studios was a church, because there's not many warehouses in North Carolina, so I just bought a church and converted it into a warehouse. Mm-hmm. And he unironically was claiming I was the Antichrist in the same video as all these other accusations, but everyone's like, oh, that's the only crazy accusation. Everything else is true. Mm-hmm. When I saw that, I was like, okay, now people are gonna be like, okay, maybe he's just, but didn't change anything.
I mean, does it bother you? Did that bother you specifically, or is it just? I mean, because how do you even?
I'm not the Antichrist. I mean, where's the Bible? I'm not the Antichrist. There you go.
That's really interesting. I kind of thought you might be. It is a weird one, because I've heard people say that in my real life. They're like, his name is. We live out here in the sticks.
Yeah.
All right. And they're like, his name is Beast. It's got the 6,000. That's a 6. People, I think that's very funny, to be honest, and in an ironic way. I don't actually obviously believe that you are the Antichrist.
I'll be honest, I don't even know what that means. The Antichrist. I see those conspiracy theories occasionally, and if I was just I tweeted, yes, I'm the Antichrist. What does that even mean? Yeah.
Do you ever speak in Babylonian curses?
Only occasionally. Not in the past year. I've kind of moved away from it.
Yeah, you've stopped speaking in tongues.
I mean, we need to stop joking like this, because that's gonna be the
People
next.
Are gonna,
It's gonna be the next More Pegasus video.
Mr. Beast Antichrist confirmed.
Yeah, they're gonna take the clip of me talking about the thumbnail with the horns and put that there.
Yeah, I'll show them a picture of my circle with a pentagram in it that you spawned out of.
Yeah.
Anyways. Do you plan, so back to philanthropy, to things that actually matter and are actually important, because that's what the whole point of this video is, to try to be
Oompa, we're being serious.
Yeah, it's serious.
Hey, lock in.
Yeah, it's a serious video, and we're trying to be honest.
It actually is serious.
It really is very serious. Do you plan to provide more transparency in how funds are used for your philanthropic efforts for Beast Philanthropy, your 501?
I've seen a lot of people ask about that too. So for the Beast Philanthropy, anyone can audit our books. We pass audit every year, and we make those things public. Also, I actually called CoffeeZilla like 9 months ago, and I asked him to do a video where he like broke down. Maybe it was 9 months ago. I don't know the exact month, but like break down Beast Philanthropy and try to find anything fraudulent in there, because we're super anal about every penny spent on the charity. So I would, if anyone wants to do a deep dive on our charity, I would love that, because it would be awesome. So people could see the links we go to on the main channel. I mean, we don't have much transparency, but I mean, it would just be depressing if I showed people, because a lot of our newer philanthropic videos we do on the main channel, like building 100 houses, wells, blind people, we don't do brand deals on them. So those videos lose a ton of money because we definitely don't make enough money off the ad revenue to pay for them. So every single time we do one of those videos on the main channel, it's usually -$1 or -$2 million. So, I mean, that's basically the transparency. When I do it on the main channel, they typically lose a fuckload of money. The charity, if anyone wants to like deep dive the books, that'd be awesome. I've been wanting some YouTuber to do that so we could show like how impressive what we do is.
Do you I've heard you repeatedly talk about how much money is lost or whatever. What makes like money? Like how do you?
Yeah, Feastables. As you know, sell food. So obviously it is profitable. But yeah, I mean the content is just, we lose a lot of money on our content. I don't want to say it because but it's a disgusting amount. But so we offset it through things like Feastables and things like that. As a whole, you know, we're gonna lose money this year, especially because of everything going on. Didn't really help.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the transparency. I mean, obviously, you can, like you mentioned, you can audit
The
charities.
Philanthropy books.
They're totally public. So
yeah, I would love to fly someone out. We've been unironically been wanting to do this. We asked a couple YouTubers. They just were like, well, if you're asking us, then there's probably nothing there, so why would I do a video on it?
Yeah.
So like people only care when there's a smoking gun.
Yeah, of course.
But I've been trying to get someone to do a video like deep diving the Beast Philanthropy financials, because people have so many like theories, exactly. And I'm like, bro, I'm not trying to hide anything. Like they just literally say no when I ask. Anyways, yeah.
Some fans feel like there is a fine line between philanthropy and using vulnerable people for content. How do you feel about people who think that your videos unintentionally exploit vulnerable people for entertainment? So, I think that's a very valid concern that people have, and I think this is one that's going to be hard to kind of explain, because people are going to just be like, well, you know, just be rich guy and donate all your money, and you know, you have more money than me, therefore you have to donate it, or I can criticize you. Like that. It's a really hard argument to win, I guess. But if you had to explain that, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Honestly, that would be an easier one to take video by video, because obviously that is something I'm very cognizant of, and I don't want to take advantage of people or use people, and so. But I mean, one video I'm burying myself alive. The next video we're flying, like comparing it, the world's cheapest plane ticket, the most expensive. The other, we're helping 1,000 people see. The other, we're putting 100 people in a circle. They're just so different, right? The answer to that for helping 1,000 people see again would be completely different than the answer for, when I put 100 people in a circle or whatever. So as a blanket one, I'm not 100% sure how to like just blanketly answer it. Besides like, that is something I'm very aware of. And like, we try to, pick people who, don't really fit that bill, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. It seems like a difficult line to walk, to be honest. I don't think. Yeah, it's a tough.
Like
tough
when we were doing the helping 1,000 people see again. Like if someone's like, I don't want to be on camera, which this happened lots of times. We just be like, that's fine. You could still have the surgery. Like So a lot of times we do that, especially in the ones where people are more less fortunate. We're very hyper cognizant of it, and we cut people out all the time, or we just don't even film. Like sometimes people. We make them aware beforehand, but they'll just show up and then they'll get a little camera shy. And like anytime I pick up on that, I'm always like, hey, like if you don't want to be on camera, we will still do this. Like it's perfectly fine. And they're always like, oh, then yeah, I'd prefer not to. And it's like, cool. And then we just step out and let them do their thing.
That's cool. Yeah, I think because that's one thing that's like a running joke is like you have to be on camera, you have to be a part of it.
That's a part of why I like doing so many, because like if I do 1,000 surgeries, it's like I don't need all of them. You know what I mean? Like
that would be a long video.
Exactly. I mean, we show like rapid fire so people can see proof that we did that many, but it's like if 100 of them or 200 of them don't want to be on camera, it's not a big deal.
Now, to the 1,000 video, 1,000 people with blindness video, there was a nonprofit that alleged it was.
Oh, that's a good segue.
Yeah, it was alleged that it was not paid.
Yeah.
And you eventually paid them 8 months later. What was the cause of the delay?
Yeah, 100%. And that you said alleged. I mean, we didn't. So they weren't paid. Let me zoom out. Basically, we did a video where we helped 1,000 people see again. We off camera actually did 800 other surgeries. So we did 1,800 surgeries. I just only put 1,000 in the video. And for a lot of them, we worked through with the charity just to make sure things were, because they had a lot of experience with this. And then that charity worked with a lot of doctors on the ground and other little charities. And one of the charities that they worked with did a couple dozen surgeries. I don't know the exact number. I'm going to say around 30. And then the charity we were working with was supposed to release the funds to him afterwards to pay for it. There's a little bit of a misunderstanding. They didn't get it. So we ended up paying for like 970 and like I didn't know of this, but like that little misunderstanding never got taken care of. So then the charity that did the 30 surgeries made a video saying, hey, we didn't get paid. Somehow that never ended up on my radar for 8 months, which is honestly crazy. I don't know how no one sent that to me. We obviously had no knowledge of it. And then I saw it a couple weeks ago and I was like, whoa, I instantly called the team we were working with and I was like, what's going on here? And then we looked through it all, blah, blah. And then I was just like, I just paid them. So I actually double paid for those surgeries and just paid them separately. Obviously just a little misunderstanding, 1,000 surgeries. Even if here's a couple ways you could look at this rationally. If we did 970 surgeries, why would I intentionally not pay the last 30 to save 3%? Just nuke the entire rep of the video just to save 3% of money. A, that just doesn't even seem logical. B, what makes it even less logical is we did 800 more eye surgeries off camera. And obviously, now I'm over explaining things, but I have to because there are literal videos using this as proof that I'm evil and using this as proof that I don't care and using this as proof that I fake things, the horns. Yeah. So but when you think about it, we did 800 off camera. So if I was aware that of the paperwork trail and the mishap and that we didn't pay those 30, why would I not just take 30 of the 800 we did off camera and swap it out for those and just, put the 30 that people are claiming we intentionally didn't pay for off camera? It's almost like I didn't know, because if I was trying to be manipulative, I wouldn't have put them in the video because I had 800 other ones. You see what I'm saying? So everything about it just makes no sense. And then even the person, after we reached out, he deleted his video and he uploaded a video saying, oh, it's just a misunderstanding. But everyone just conveniently ignores that because it doesn't help their narrative. So
it's not as fun.
I mean, yeah, I don't really know what else to say. Like, these are huge projects. Like, I'd love to see any of the people making videos on this, like, try to just help 10 people see again. Now picture 1,000. Like 1,000. That is, well, actually we did 1,800. So 1,800. It was just a lot of stuff. Like, it's not like I can individually call all 1,800 afterwards and things like that. Like, some of these were in poor places. They don't even have phones. So yeah, a little bit of a whoopsie, but we fixed it when we found out about the whoopsie. I mean, that's the honest truth.
Yeah, I mean, you can't expect to not make mistakes with an operation that's big.
Yeah.
It's just gonna happen. It's just gonna happen.
When I do, we fix them.
Yeah, and then say there's transparency there. Yeah, I mean that's definitely a non-issue.
I mean, you would think that, but plenty of thumbnails.
It took Team C's 3 years to remove the equivalent of 10 hours worth of trash being dumped into the ocean every day. And a lot of people have criticized the campaign as being ineffective and that you should have been doing something else instead of Team C's.
Yeah.
Like how do you respond to that?
Yeah. So first off, because I get this a ton with Team C's. Like, this isn't even like a new thing. Ever since we did it, people constantly bring this up. So I just also, to the people who allege that criticism, because obviously you're just trying to be the mouthpiece for the internet. I assume you don't believe this, and you can probably already guess what I'm going to say. But to the people who I see this every single day on Twitter and Reddit, first off, let's just contextualize what we're talking about. We're saying only 34 million pounds of trash was removed out of the ocean. We're talking like multiple Empire State Buildings worth of just trash, if you piled it up, is out of the ocean. And we're acting like that's not a crazy thing if you just look at it in absolute terms. Like, 34 million, not 34,000 million pounds. You know how crazy that is? And there's a couple things I want to say on this, because I find it funny. It's like when I don't even know where I got this analogy from. When a firefighter, stops a building from burning down, you don't go, well, 100,000 buildings burned down today. You only stop one. What are you doing?
Yeah, fuck you.
Yeah, exactly. So that's I don't even know where that's a good analogy. That just popped in my head.
That's good.
B, what was I actually going to say? Oh, the whole point though of Team C's, which we've said this multiple times publicly, same thing with Mark Rober, was to inspire millions of people around the world to be more conscious of these things and to like just care and be more aware, right? Like over 1,000 creators made videos on Team C's talking about the environment. I made a video that I believe has 100 million views. Mark Rober, all these other big creators, and all these people that look up to these creators saw a video of these creators talking positively about the environment. And like my thing I would say to them is like, when people are like, oh, it only removed like half a day's worth of trash that's put into the ocean. How do you quantify the impact of those millions of people who got inspired to be more cognizant of these things and extrapolate that over the next decade? You know what I mean? Like, no one seems to factor that in because it doesn't fit the agenda. I stand by Team C's. I think it was a phenomenal project. I think it did a lot of good. And I would challenge anyone else to try to remove 34. I mean, it wasn't me. It was the whole YouTube community. But, like, if you have a better solution, go do it. But to me, 34 million pounds of trash out of the ocean plus, inspiring millions of people to be more cognizant of it, I think it's a win. So I'm actually glad I got to say this here because that is just something that I just feel like is absurd, to be honest.
Yeah. Another topic in the same vein is the 100 Wells in Africa project.
Yeah.
In that video, part of the criticism for that video is that a few of the wells that you built were showed in different shots, or the same wells were showed in different shots.
Yeah.
That would imply to some people that you may not have built all 100.
Yeah.
Did you build 100 wells in Africa?
Yes. So you already know what I'm going to say. I mean, I would loop this in with the same thing as the hospital thing. Seems like I need to have someone who like QCs things before we upload it more hardcore. I need someone who literally goes frame by frame. Like we finish a video and then they spend like 3 days just going frame by frame, making sure there's no mess ups. Yeah, I think like one or two of the wells we accidentally showed this like same well as different numbers. But once again, like I said with the blind thing, like why would I spend 98% of the money and then just fake two wells and destroy the entire integrity to save like 2%? I'm glad we're hitting these though, so I can. Anyone who made those videos like saying the philanthropy's fake, like that's the one that bothers me the most because we go so above and beyond. Like honestly, if you could just delete them, like that'd be great. So like it's so bad, man. Like because it makes charities not want to work with us, and it makes it just really like has made doing the projects we want to do like a lot more difficult, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I'm glad we're hitting these.
Aside from it being just difficult, does it make how? I've asked you how it makes you feel. You said it doesn't feel good with regard to that. Like this charity thing, it's got to feel good to do this.
Yeah.
And you're surrounded by people who I'm assuming are enjoying the work that they're doing. I know a fellow Darren is involved in the philanthropy, or at least was. I'm not sure if he's still around, but there's some good people obviously involved in this. Like, how does it make you feel after all these allegations that are coming out that you can't really do this anymore?
Well, we can still do it. It's just infinitely harder. I mean, we're never going to stop. But yeah, it's...
There's a time limit on it. It's finite.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping, that's why I'm here. One of the reasons why I'm here. I'm hoping this, puts this stuff out there. These things kind of die down and we can go back to the status quo where I can actually do brand deals and help people and charities want to work with us and things like that. But, I mean, shocker. Sucks. You know what I mean? It doesn't feel good. But it's not even about me. I mean, it's a lot of these things. What bothers me is that they're employees, even for the charity, regardless of the people we help and the projects we do. I also just have a lot of people who work for my charity. You know what I mean? And those people, I just, a lot of these things, the first thing that jumps in my mind is it's just not fair to them. You know what I mean? Think of the Wells Project. We worked on that for a year. You know what I mean? Think of my employees who worked on that and poured everything they had into that project over the course of a year, and then some small editing slip up, and now everything they did that they put their stamp of approval, they put their name on, they showed their family, so they made, is now being discredited. You know what I mean? It's kind of it's very depressing for them too. And I'm what do I say? I'm it's brutal, to be honest. For them, more even more than me, because they're obviously I have a lot going on, multiple business, and I'm always filming videos, but we have certain teams dedicated to certain videos, and when those videos get deliberate disinformation, it's I could tell it really impacts the people that worked on them, because it sucks. that was your life. And then people were just like, oh, this small little mistake, it's fake.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's brutal.
How much charity do you do off camera, if you don't mind me asking? Also, you know, some people say that filming these types of things sort of calls the authenticity or the intentions into question. If you're filming charity, like, is it real? If a bear shits in the woods, you know, it's one of those old adages.
Yeah.
What do you do off camera? What do you feel about that? Because that's a big criticism that a lot of people have had on YouTubers for a very long time.
It's a big criticism I get, which is funny because if I do something off camera, how do you know about it? So all the people who tweet all the time or whatever go, you wouldn't do anything unless it's on camera. He only does it because it's on camera. How do you know?
Yeah.
Literally, how do you know? I mean, and does it defeat the purpose if I tell you right now? I mean, I will, just because now everyone assumes the worst. So, but it's just that one's always been a crazy one to me every time I've seen those go viral. But I mean, now it sounds like weird to just list them off because it's like, feels like I'm bragging. But I mean, the first one that pops to my head is like the Mark person that we gave $1 million that actually got slandered in a lot of this controversy. I knew that a lot of people who come into that kind of money typically go bankrupt. So I gave him a couple $1,000s a month every month for like 4 or 5 years after that video. Never mentioned it publicly, just to help us transition to his new lifestyle.
Right.
That was an easy one. I mean, we did 800 surgeries off camera for blind. Never mentioned that. I'm bringing it up now because the controversy is making me. It's funny because like even things like Feastables, we do a lot to ethically source it, and you know, and I spent an entire week in Ghana, you know, earlier this year, just going like working on the farms for Feastables, on the cocoa farms, and then cutting the cacao and fermenting it, the QC, working alongside the farmers, the entire supply chain to make sure it's ethically sourced. I never posted that anywhere. I don't think I did. I don't remember posting anything. I didn't make a video out of it. I just went there to, you know, inspect our supply chain, do that ethically. I mean, I could go on, but it just feels like a little weird to like brag about these things. But yeah, I mean, it's just not true. I do tons of stuff. I mean, even me and my mom, that's part of how we bond is we do things and projects and things she's passionate about and stuff like that off camera. So, I mean, that's something I'm never gonna get away from till the day I die. People are always gonna say, "Oh, you only do it because it's on camera." And I mean, there's technically no good real response. It's like if people want to say that, they can say that. You know.
Yeah, that's valid. Yeah, that's yeah. If people don't know it exists, obviously they're not gonna know that it fucking exists.
Yeah.
And if you're doing it, you're damned if you do. Once again, you're damned.
Because
if
even
you
me
don't.
saying it here, did that just defeat the purpose of everything I did? Oh, he only did those things so he could use
eventually
it.
use it as a way to make
Of
himself.
course, I'm sure that like the r/YouTube drama post is gonna say that, and then someone's gonna debunk it, but that reply will be deleted, and then everyone's gonna believe the post, and yeah.
Some people allege, the internet alleges, some people on the internet allege that you use philanthropy as a shield against criticism.
Yeah.
And like they say that about a lot of people, not just you, a lot of YouTubers. How would you respond to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're always going to say that. So it is a little ironic in my case, especially, I feel like towards this, it was different years ago, but these last 2 years, do you remember when I uploaded like the Wells video, the blind video? Do you remember like how people like lost their minds and got really mad? Do you remember that? Like, I think I was trending on Twitter for like 3 days straight after the blind video. And it was not positive. It was like super negative. It was like, it's actually interesting because I talked about this earlier. Like, I actually think I would get less hate if I didn't do philanthropy. So I actually think it's having the inverse effect, at least in the last 2 years. Like, people hate me more because I do good. I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's like too crazy of a I'm not trying to sound like a victim here or anything. So maybe that's too crazy of a statement, but it's just something I'm noticing. Like, I'll do a video, whatever, buried myself alive. No one criticizes it. It's like, oh, this is a good video, they'll watch it. And then I'll do a video where I build 100 houses. Everyone loses their mind, you know, and give it to homeless people. And Twitter erupts. And so using philanthropy as a shield, honestly, I just don't even agree. Like, I actually think it paints a negative spotlight on me, to be frank.
Yeah, I mean, you've definitely been a target of a lot of negative things
If I took $5 million and built wells, it would trend on Twitter. If I took $5 million and made the world's largest firework, I would not trend on Twitter and get hate. I mean, that's the honest truth. So that's my answer. Like, I do the videos because they're just fun. And like, I've always said in podcasts, like I could make up some sob story of whatever. Like the truth is, I just find videos where I help people more fun than videos where I don't, and so I just like to occasionally mix them in because it's just makes life more fun. But yeah, I mean, if I was actually didn't want to get hate, I would stop helping people, to be honest.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, it's weird because it's like your philanthropy videos, they really are a huge point of contention on Twitter. And people, you said that if you spent $5 million building a firework, people wouldn't really even get mad. When you did the fucking Squid Games thing, they still were mad at that. They were like, why didn't you give that to, like, you're always going to be making a lot of people upset no matter what.
Especially at my size. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And it's like, if I get 200 million views on a video, if only 1% of people are mad, that's still 2 million, which is more people mad than like might even watch this video. You know what I mean? So it's just like, because of the size, like it just, that's the world I live in.
Yeah, and that's sort of like the grander point that I've tried to sort of clarify is like you are the guy. You're the guy, right? You're the guy. You have the highest expectations from everybody, and like people expect you to have extremely high expectations of yourself.
And I don't take that lightly.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, of course. So on to Feastables, my favorite chocolate.
Thank you.
It's just a simple bar of chocolate that happens to not be very good.
When you guys
I mean, you live in America. There's not much competition here.
With all the allegations that have come into people's view over the last few months, people noticed that on the Feastables website, it originally said that the chocolate was child labor and slave labor free. A lot of people probably don't know that the production of chocolate is, it's difficult for it to be ethical, especially at scale. And it no longer says that on the Feastables website, and people have interpreted this to mean that your chocolate is no longer ethically sourced, and it implies that it is using child labor or slave labor. Yep. How would you respond to that?
Yeah, that one was a crazy one when I woke up and saw those videos claiming I used slave labor. What's funny is any of those creators, I'm just going to say it, you could have just literally messaged me and I could have given you the facts, but, you know, they didn't. And so that was like a crazy few days. Like, I actually, before I go into how we do ethically source our cocoa, and these are just flat out lies, I even, there's so many arcs of like allegations, that allegation arc, I even put out an Instagram story about how we ethically source our cocoa. And we even did a press release, and like, I like literally shared these things, and people still were claiming we use slave labor and just ignored it and everything. But, is it fine if I just give a little bit of a longer answer on this so people truly, because I want to make sure people actually understand how ridiculous this claim is.
Yeah, I think it's also very important as well.
No, this is actually probably one of the most serious allegations of all of them. Like, saying we use slave labor is like, that's crazy.
And also, we preface this by saying that Feastables is one of the reasons that you are capable of making money on what you're doing.
Yes.
So, the ethics of that are even more important, arguably, than...
Well, and it's also hypocritical with everything I do. If I, just turn around and use slave labor, then it's like, okay, it's just, so anyways, to get into it, yes, there's a lot of unethical stuff in the sourcing of cocoa, because big chocolate just wants to buy cocoa as cheap as possible. Majority of the world's cocoa comes from, again, I'm going to really lay this out. I have lived and breathed this. I've visited the farms. I personally have put over 1,000 hours of my own time into this. And like, so majority of the world's cocoa comes from West Africa. Feastables early on, we sourced from Peru, which Peru doesn't have ethical problems. But after we started getting bigger, all roads lead to you have to source from West Africa, because that's just where most of the world's cocoa is grown. And that's where things are the worst and the most unethical. So when we were switching our supply chain to West Africa as we were getting bigger, the company that is the gold standard, that has been living and breathing this for the last 15 years, is Tony's Chocolonely. Have you heard of them? Yes. Yeah, I mean, phenomenal. They are nuts about this stuff. Like they've done all the research. They live and breathe it, like on how to eliminate child labor, how to best support the farmers, how to everything you can think of, which I'm about to go in depth on. And so I was like, hey, I need to talk to these guys. These guys know what they're doing. And so I spent a lot of time with them, and we actually formed a joint partnership with where we sourced through Tony's Open Chain with Feastables and Tony's Open Chain when we were moving over there. And this has been a thing well before the controversy. Before anyone says, oh, it's only because of controversy, it was a thing before the controversy. And basically, 100% of Feastables cocoa is Fairtrade certified, which is expensive. It's basically the most expensive certification you can have on it, which for most chocolate companies would be enough. You'd get your cocoa Fairtrade certified, and then like, do you even know what Fairtrade certified means? Okay. Do you think your viewers know? No. So if someone was like, you're unethical, and I just said, my beans are Fairtrade certified, my chocolate, 99% of people would be like, okay, good enough. That makes sense. So like, I could have just hid behind that, but I didn't think Fairtrade, I don't think that's enough. And so not only are 100% of Feastables beans Fairtrade certified, but 100% of them, we also pay a living income reference price. Have I mentioned any of this to you before? No. Okay, so 100 living income reference price, this is why it's hilarious how people are like claiming we unethically source our cocoa. And I'm ready to lay this out, because everyone who said I use slave labor and I don't care, I hope you delete your videos, because you were literally spreading severe disinformation. So for us, one of the main drivers of child labor in cocoa is poverty. Like, they don't make enough money. So you can't just go to a farmer and say, don't use child labor, because if they can't afford to pay a grown-up, then you're telling them, hey, go starve. They have to make money. So one of the ways you can eliminate child labor is you have to pay a living income. So there's a thing called living income reference price, where they look at, and tell me if I need to dumb it down or whatever, I don't know. But they look at inflation, the cost of bread, basically the cost of living in these areas in West Africa. And they say, hey, if a farmer sells you a metric ton of cocoa, they need to get paid blank to actually be able to live. If you're paying under that, it's just not reasonable for them to live, which then will mean for them to live, they're gonna have to use child labor. So 100% of our beans, we pay a living income reference price. So if a farmer theoretically sold us a metric ton of cocoa for, I'll make up a number, $800, and the living income reference price is $1,000, we'll go, hey, we actually want to pay you $1,000 for that, a $200 premium on top of it, to make sure you make enough money to live off of. And that's what we do for all our beans, which is like crazy. You know what I mean? But if we're doing this, we don't want child labor on the farms. And so there's child labor mediation system, and there's a lot of stuff. And this is where Tony's has been great to work with. We have people who check in on the farms and, interview the families, interview the kids. If there are cases, remediate it, follow up, make sure the case was remediated. And it's about part of solving child labor is making sure the farmers make more money. So we also have coaches that will work with farms to, on their theoretical hectare, see if there's any way they can educate them so they can get 10% more yield. So for the same farm, they can make 10% more money. Therefore, they're not as in poverty. So it's easier for them to pay, actual labor that's not children. And even I could go on and on. I mean, you tell me how in depth you want to go, but the gist of it is Feastables. We are super cognizant of our supply chain, and I've been over there. I've worked on these farms, literally. I mean, I could probably send you a video if you want to throw it up on screen, so it's not just hearsay. But I didn't film this stuff for this. I just did it because I really wanted to know. And I mean, this is something I was working on. I mean, sometimes 4 or 5 hours a day for like months straight, like 4 or 5 months, like because I really wanted to make sure we are ethically sourced, and we have the best people in the world working on it. So I mean.
Yeah, being associated with Tony Chocolonely as well as that's like they're huge in that world, and there's like some unaccredited sources that claim that they're not slave free, but they're once again unaccredited. Like Tony Chocolonely.
No, Tony Chocolonely is super transparent. So you can see every year they drop a transparency report. And in their last transparency report, I'm pretty sure. I mean, you can look it up and throw it up on screen. They said there's no evidence or any traces of slave labor found in their supply chain. So that's not a thing. But the thing is, to answer actually the original question, and it's even Soggy showed it in his video, but I'll just restate it for anyone who hasn't seen it. They're big on saying exploitation free instead of slave free, which is why we switched it. And on top of that, we just we have new information there instead of just this blanket thing. We're now, or maybe it's being populated or updated. I don't know if I'm quoting like a demo site that we're about to go live or whatever, but I wanted to like everything I'm telling you here. I want all that up there. You know what I mean? And which we've been working on. Just honestly, just with all this stuff going on, I've had a lot going on, but I want to like these are the kinds of things I want to talk about in videos and start like telling everyone. It's just these are a little bit more complicated things, like explaining a living income reference price and the premiums and fair trade certification and child labor remediation systems and stuff like that. It's stuff I'm very passionate about, but a lot of these things like viewers might not understand. So and my videos aren't as like this setting, so it's easy for me to say here, but these are anyways, before someone's like, why didn't you talk about that publicly? It's like, damn if you do, damn if you don't. Oh, I spent a year plus of my life and all millions of dollars and all this time ethically sourcing my cocoa. And because I didn't show it publicly, it's like, oh, now everyone's criticizing me and they're assuming I'm not, and I don't care. And it's like, so this is why I have to do things on camera. Next time someone asks, why does he do things on camera? This is what happens when I don't. I get accused of using slave labor.
That's a crazy accusation.
A baseless accusation.
Yeah, it truly. Yeah, I mean, once again, being associated with Tony Chocolonely is like that's huge. That's
Of course.
Yeah,
I mean, those were the first people I hit up when we were
Absolutely.
switching our supply chain over. Like, yeah.
it's cool. Now on to Lunchly.
Oh,
All
gosh.
right. So, friend of the show, Rosanna Pansino, happened to get a moldy Lunchly, and a couple other creators got
Yes.
moldy Lunchlies, and then that began the claims
Yes.
sprouted out of that.
Yep.
That Lunchly had been recalled due to those problems, due to the mold problems.
Yes.
Moldy cheese. How do you plead?
Yes. How do I plead? What am I on trial? Well, there was no recall. I mean, that's been
Right.
said, which again, it's like, it's so annoying. It's the disinformation, man, because that makes it seem like there's an actual serious problem. Oh, we're recalling Lunchleys, and there's a sign that, I think Logan even did a video, if you want to throw up, where he like went to the store and that just wasn't real. That like someone put on like a door that said Lunchly has been recalled when the shelves are empty by the FDA, which was just a made up thing. On the mold thing, here's the thing. We, every single Lunchly with cheese meat is USDA inspected. There is no mold when it leaves our factory. Yeah. Like, we have the highest QC standards imaginable. Like, what do we have? Why would we ship that out? Like, that doesn't even make sense. You know what I mean? And we obviously have the best experts in the world. I mean, even once these things come out, I mean, we brought even more. They're pouring up and down the lines, making sure everything's good. It's just, the thing is, here's a context a lot of people leave out. Look at, I don't want to name specific brands but take a specific brand that comes into your mind when you think of something like Lunchly, something that's very similar, specific brand, I don't know, other brands, competitors, and Google their name and put the word mold behind it. You'll see thousands upon thousands of examples. And that, I think, is a key context a lot of people leave out in this, because they're acting like this is just a thing with us. Once it leaves your factory, a truck that's delivering it could technically take a sharp turn and a box fall and puncture the seal, or honestly, even something as dumb as like when it's put on the shelves at the store. Like, I can't stop someone from walking to Walmart and grabbing a Lunchly,
Right.
going to the potato chip aisle, putting it there, and then like a day later, an employee going, that doesn't belong there, and put it back. And
Right.
like, I mean, obviously they shouldn't do that. They should throw it away. Of
course.
But like, so there's no mold when it leaves our factories, because that's just stupid. Why would we ever let that happen? But
Right.
after that point, there are variables that we just can't control. And that's why every single product in that section, Google their name, put mold behind it. It just occasionally happens. I mean, but we're talking like, it's moving over 1 million units a week right now. And I'm seeing like maybe a couple examples here and there. So it's like,
Yeah.
it's really, they would have you convinced this is like, it
probably comes with mold.
Yeah, exactly. When
Yeah.
you're talking about very rare, and it's like, I bet you if you trace most of those cases, it'd be things like, oh, someone just like, it could even be like someone's refrigerator cut out, or they like, when they put it in their car, they like threw it in their car, and then like, you know what I mean? Like, they're just, I can't control these things, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, mitigation of mold and shit like that's difficult. You have to, there's a process.
But there isn't. We literally, everything with cheese and meat that we use is USDA inspected and held to such a concern, like you wouldn't even understand. It's like, so it's not a thing until after it leaves. But I mean, when you buy the product, like there are just variables that we can't control.
I understand. Yeah, definitely. And like, you're using the logic of, you can look up the other brand and then mold. Logan Paul had a moment on Twitter where he basically did that exact same thing, but the reverse logic, and said that other brand led, and then compared that with Lunchly. But I think it's important to state the same thing you're saying about mold. It's possible that someone could toss something there's a hole in the package. It's important to also note that food products do contain trace amounts of like cadmium, lead, arsenic, and it's really important QA, like you're talking about. Across the board, that sort of transparency is important.
Yes. And if there's anyone who, I have people who have done this their entire lives running this stuff, but if there's anyone who thinks like anything they can educate me on or we're missing, like, I'm down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
DM me.
Yeah, I think it was actually really funny. I'm not sure if you saw, because like the food stuff I find very important, and because I have educated myself in it a lot since having my own food company. Like, we manufacture here in this town.
Can I see it before I leave?
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
So like that's super important to me. And there was a video that like the actual misinformation stuff that bothers me outside of YouTube drama nonsense, because it's hard to like feel like it's, I don't know, it's it's a strange world being in YouTube just in general. I know you're very well aware of that, but
That's an understatement.
yeah. But like seeing somebody like Logan Paul with so much influence and like you guys promoting Lunchly and like somebody like Logan Paul acting as if you can find lead, like traceable amounts of lead in a metal detector with like that. That's just there's misinformation from like both sides. You know what I mean? And for someone like me, I find that to be very important. I did make a video about that.
Yeah.
And you know the same thing you're saying about the mold. You know, giving Lunchly the benefit of the doubt. It's important to do that across the board. I feel like so. You know, which you didn't make the claim that there's no lead.
I
in
honestly, I know what video you're talking about. This is what I'm too ignorant on what that machine does, so I don't.
Yeah,
I'd have to.
We've got the same one. It detects metal. Every product, like Feastables, has lead in it. All cacao has lead in it. You know, anything that comes from the earth has lead in it. It's very difficult to get lead out of things, and like the lead that they measure for is parts per billion. So like you can't detect it. You're not going to find like a little chunk of lead.
This is where you're in a different league than me. I'm so ignorant on this.
It's important though. I mean, it's really important to note that because it's like it's just so, like you said, use the word ignorant. It is really ignorant to, you know, it's just as ignorant for people to say Lunchly's got mold in it that it is for people to say that Lunchables has, or the other brand has lead in it. You know what I mean? And that's like one of the reasons, because there will be recalls no matter what. Like eventually there's going to be a recall if you have a food product. So yeah, I think it's important to like hold the candle to it all the time. And like, just like you're doing with Feastables. I mean, like if there is a good example of approaching things ethically, I feel like you guys have done an excellent job with Feastables, and your PR with Feastables is, in my opinion, leaps and bounds better than the PR with Lunchly. I think you're doing a really good job with that, to be honest.
Well, Lunchly though, the next SKU, or how would I say? Because not everyone listening. What's a different word for SKU? They might not know what that means. Next
iteration.
The next one.
Flavor.
Flavor. I guess if that's what you'd call me. The next one we're dropping, I think people would be very surprised. Like we're obviously, this business is like 2 months old. Like Lunchly, like we're just getting started. We obviously saw the feedback and we're incorporating that into the next one, and I'm excited. I should have checked with the team beforehand if I could just say what it is, but I'll tell you off camera. But it's I think all the criticism and things we obviously are seeing it, and like, you know, think everything can be improved, and I think people are going to be very happy with
something health is going to come out.
We're thinking, I don't think they would care if I said like maybe like grilled chicken nuggets with maybe like some barbecue sauce, like high quality meat, you know, good source, and like trying to figure out what the side is, but like like taking the criticism and applying it. It's like and just like something like that. I'm very excited about, because
that's huge. That's good. That's awesome, because it's like I mean, it was funny the day that I filmed that video. I got a box of Lunchly sent to my house as if it was like some kind of sign, or like I don't know why or how or who sent me it or what. I don't know how the fuck. But it was good. It was good. It's like, you know, it's just the quick snack food. And that's what it is. It's nothing crazy. It's nothing. It's like, sure, less bad, whatever. But who the fuck cares? If you're doing something like that, what you're saying there, that's leaps and bounds better.
I know. I'm very excited.
Leaps and bounds better.
I want it out so badly, but it's probably going to be early next year. I'm very excited for it.
Yeah. People allege that you hired a registered sex offender named Delaware. There's a big whole conspiracy with it. Why did you hire Delaware? And were you aware that he was a sex offender before you hired him? By the way, to preface this question, this is something that I think a lot of people probably feel like is really important.
It is.
You know, so you know that in mind. That this is one of the most important things to me. I would love to hear the full truth response from you in regard to this.
Yeah, and I'm excited to put it out there, because I think what people are envisioning is completely different than what actually happened. Yes, I did hire him, but for the context around it, I hired him when I was 19, so I was a teenager, and this is kind of leans a little bit into what we were talking before. This is back when it was just a couple of my friends from high school, my mom. My videos were getting bigger. I needed more help, and so I walked in, because I'm dumb. Like, I probably should have gone on some site and hired people who had production experience, but instead I walked into my local Best Buy, and I just hired multiple people. Obviously, when I was a teenager, I didn't know what a background check was. And I just hired a couple people there that wanted to help me make videos. One of them was the person named Delaware. And no, I did not know he was a registered sex offender. There's a rumor that's gone around that said that he sat me and my mom down and told us. Obviously, I don't remember that happening. And when I read that tweet, the first thing I did was I called my mom and I was like, hey, this is like 7 or 8 years ago. Just put this in context. 7 or 8 years ago, not indicative of my company today, but I was like, did this happen? Because someone's claiming this happened. My mom said, I would have literally quit or honestly probably shut the business down before I ever let my teenage son hire a registered sex offender knowingly, which I have a very protective mom. So, I mean, even if you don't believe me, you should at least believe that. I feel like it's not absurd to believe that my mom wouldn't have knowingly let her teenage son hire a registered sex offender. Like, that just doesn't even, like, in what world does that even make sense?
Yeah.
It's like that just, I mean, that's just not even rooted in reality. So, but yeah, it's just an unfortunate thing that happened. Not that this, I take accountability. Yes, if I could go back in time, I would tell teenage me, hey, you're supposed to do background checks. 19-year-old me, he stared at retention charts all day. He obsessed over YouTube videos. He didn't know anything about running a business. Like, I can't fully put myself in the mind of me 7 years ago, but I'm sure teenage me also thought, like, hey, Best Buy is worth tens of billions of dollars in a big corporation. Like, they also didn't do background checks. And, like, I probably thought, like, oh, I'm hiring from this big business. It's probably fine. You know what I mean? Or maybe I didn't put much thought into it because I was just making videos. But regardless, we do background checks now, and we do these things. I've been doing it for a long time, and it's just an unfortunate thing. But I just for context, though, just to give to a lot of people listening, like, or watching, I called after that stuff came out, too, because I was just curious. I called, like, I don't know the exact number, maybe, like, 24 YouTubers, and I asked them, like, do you guys do background checks? And I think, like, a dozen of those YouTubers have, like, more than 10 employees, and literally only 2 of the, like, 24 YouTubers I called do them. Like, 6 of them were like, I don't even know how to do a background check. You know what I mean? And they all had employees. So, like, I do, not that I'm not trying to deflect anything or whatever. I'm just trying to give context. Like, it's like, it is a little much to just think that 19-year-old me was just supposed to know that and have this knowledge. And it's unfortunate. And like I said,
yeah. And to be fair, I keep saying that you're the guy. Back then, you weren't the guy.
I was not the guy.
So that's
calling what I had back then a company would be generous.
That was the boy. You were the boy.
That was the boy. And but yeah, now I have hundreds of employees. We obviously have rigorous standards for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and to speak on that as well, we do background checks for everyone who works at our we have a video game development company and a candy company. Obviously, both those background checks. But my YouTube channel, I think I've hired 2 people from Indeed. Both of them have been given background checks, and everybody else.
Did you background check this guy?
Nope, I've known him for 7 years.
Okay.
Now on to Jake Weddle.
Yes.
All right. Another guy.
An entire DogPack video.
Yeah, dude. He also has a mustache as well. I'm not sure if you know. There's an interview with a former employee and contestant named Jake Weddle in which he alleges inhumane treatment on set, even war crimes. Use the turn of phrase war crimes. How do you respond to these allegations, and do you plan on putting procedures in place to make sure this doesn't happen again?
Yeah. Glad I can talk about this one. So I think I should set the floor because maybe not everyone here fully even knows what the challenge was or anything. So yeah, I think it would make sense to. So for the Weddle video, Jake Weddle was the person who competed in one of my videos. The video was we built a room in our studio, and then the challenge was every day you live in this room, you win $10,000. And then it was like kind of like a white padded room. There's like a pool table, a bed in there, bunch of other items, blah blah. And let me just gather my thoughts on this one. How do I want to say? I think the best way to talk about this is to also talk about how we did similar videos with other people, because one of the things is like multiple people can do the same thing and experience it differently. That's what's a little tricky about these like contestant-based videos. I can never know 100% how something's going to affect someone, right? So similar to the Weddle video, I just want to lay the foundation before we go in specifically to that. Similar to that, we also did a video where we put did you see the video where we put 2 people in a room, Bailey and Susie, 100 days trapped together? So one thing that Weddle struggled with was the lights being on, and he mentioned that in the video. But Bailey and Susie, on day 20 of 100 Day Trapped Together, I offered to turn the lights off for part of their prize pool. And they said no. And like the lights wasn't, I mean, I'm sure it was difficult, but it wasn't like that big of a difficulty for them. And so it's like something for them that's not that big of a difficulty for other people can be, challenging and hard. And like what I'm trying to say is you never know how someone's going to react to something, right? It's impossible to fully predict. And so that's one of these variables of these challenges, which is why we give people the ability to quit, you know what I mean? Or to leave at any point. And so in his video, he went 11 days, won $110,000. Right. I believe it was 11 days. Yeah. Yes. And then he decided to quit on that day. And, he mentions this in his video, like around day 11 or 12. I don't know what the day is off the top of my head, but he was struggling. And so we did turn off the lights. We sent a psychiatrist in there to check in on him. And we were like, yeah, he's not doing too well. And we ended the challenge and we paid him. Didn't go long enough where we got a video, so we didn't end up uploading it. But I think the big thing is just that's why we allow people to leave these challenges. Like my goal when doing these obviously isn't to like, break people mentally or push them past their limits. It's just to like create an environment where they can challenge themselves and do something interesting or cool. And then when they've had it, like leave, you know what I mean? So I guess that's kind of how I would describe it. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on what I'm saying?
I think that makes sense. It's important to note that it's also voluntary.
It's a voluntary challenge. You can leave at any point.
Paid exponential amounts of money.
Yeah.
And after all that stuff came out, and he sort of made the claims of how he was mistreated, et cetera, you reached out to him after the fact as well.
Yeah. I mean, now that I didn't want to bring that kind of stuff up, but yeah, also off camera after he made that video, I reached out and was like, hey man, like obviously we weren't trying to cause you any mental stress with that video or anything, and is there any way I can help? And I ended up, he seemed like he really needed some financial help, so I ended up sending him $50,000 completely off camera or anything. I mean, he talked about it publicly so people know, but yeah, I just wanted to make sure he was good.
Oh, wow. You took money from Mr. Beast after all that stuff you said? Yeah, this money, this $50,000? Well, first of all, you're going to tax it, so let's say it's more like $30,000.
Yeah, I mean, that's good. That's good. Yeah, cool. Yeah, it's to me that one's interesting because it's just a sort of a voluntary challenge, and it's difficult to it's a very YouTube thing, right? It's a very YouTube thing, and the comparison of that to like war crimes, fairly tone deaf.
Yeah,
to compare it, like that's a ridiculous thing to say.
Yeah.
So yeah, we can move on from that, to be honest. There was litigation found against you surrounding Beast Games, your show on Amazon, in regard to unsafe workplace conditions, and a bunch of talk of, files and videos and images and everything being sent to documentaries and all this shit coming out in regard to the Beast Games show on Amazon. What is the litigation that found against you?
You know how litigation is. Obviously, I'm not allowed to talk about it, which is a little... There's a lot of things I want to say here, so this is good. Trying to think specifically on the lawsuit that. So for context, so people have 5 anonymous Beast Game employees, or not employees, 5 anonymous Beast Game contestants submitted a lawsuit, and they sent it to the press, but conveniently all the actual claims are redacted, blacked out, so you can't actually see it. And I'm not allowed to disclose what's behind those black lines. But, Beast Games, we had 1,000 people. We were doing big stuff. And just like with my normal videos, I'm not trying to say, everything went great. One thing that happened when we were filming one part of Beast Games is, you remember CrowdStrike? That was pretty brutal. We had the most contestants of any game show in history together. That was weirdly, God hates me, during the CrowdStrike accident. And so as we're, eliminating hundreds of people and trying to get them home, airports all across America are down, hotel room keys aren't working, and that created a lot of confusion, and that caused a lot of problems in our systems, and that was pretty brutal. And I'm not trying to just disavow everything, you know what I mean? There was one woman who when we were filming, we had obviously tons of feminine care products and stuff like that, but there was one woman who was allergic to the feminine care products, and we didn't have allergen-free ones like tampons and pads. And she told someone, I don't know who she told, I haven't been able to find it, but I believe that she did, that she was allergic, and they didn't obviously do the logical thing, which is tell us or just drive to the local Walmart and buy some and give it to her. And so she wasn't able to get, feminine care products in a reasonable amount of time, which is unacceptable. And so I learned a lot of little things like that. But I think in general, a lot of it has just been blown out of proportion. Like people have claimed like we didn't use unions because I didn't want to pay people fair money, when that was just a flat out lie. We did use unions, and like that there are dozens of broken bones, and which is like crazy to think that I'd be like, oh, 10 people broke their bones, let's keep filming. You know what I mean? Like that doesn't even make sense. After like that claim came out, like we literally called 1,950 contestants of the 2,000. We couldn't get a hold of all 2,000. I couldn't find a single broken bone. Yeah, online it's being claimed there's dozens. I mean, there's so much or even disinformation like that being spread. So like, which makes it hard for me to just come out and like talk about things like the pad thing and other things where, we did mess up on little things, and there are definitely things we could have done better. But then there's just like, it's mixed in with like all these crazy outrageous claims, and it's like just so.
What about you not paying people?
I mean, we did. But yeah, that's something people like to leave out. We gave everyone who showed up. You could literally show up and then a second later leave and receive $2,000, which with 2,000 contestants, that's $4 million.
Yeah.
And we told everyone they were going to get $0. This is something like, this is the damned if you do, damned if you don't. So we told everyone, no guaranteed money if you show up. I'm glad you asked this. No guaranteed money if you show up. Like you could walk away with $0. But then I wanted to surprise everyone. Gave them each $2,000, $4 million, which it's a lot of money. I could have gone and just bought a mansion instead of doing that. But what's even crazier is then people tried to, not like the contestants, but the internet, their theories, tried to frame that as hush money. Like I gave them all $2,000 to like make them happy because we didn't tell them beforehand, like to surprise them as they got eliminated. And then people are like, you just did that because of hush money. And I'm like, what does that even mean? Like, I also didn't give them like legal paperwork tied with it. Like that says it was just like completely baseless. It just shows like how crazy people go with the conspiracy theories and everything like that. But no, we did pay everyone $2,000. And on top of that, we gave away more money than any competition show in history. I mean, we had the largest cash prize in history, on top of millions upon millions upon. Like throughout the show, we literally give away like 8 figures, tens of millions of dollars. So it's like, I do all this, and normal competition shows don't even pay anyone except for the grand prize. Mm-hmm. So it's like, it's just, once again, it's like funny because people actually compared it to reality. It's just not even in the same stratosphere.
I mean, yeah, there's a lot of wild shit. How do you feel after all this stuff? This is the first time you've been able to really speak in a broad, sweeping way about all the allegations and everything negative that's happened over the last couple months. Yeah. What do you think your biggest mistakes were over the last 4 months?
You already know what I'm about to say. We've hit it a couple of times. I wish right after we dropped the results of that investigation, I could talk a couple weeks ago. I wish I just instantly did this. Sorry, I have a little bit of a cold. The thing is, I've just never been in a controversy like this before. So I just, this isn't even a controversy. This is like 100 controversies.
Bad, yeah.
Yeah. So truthfully, I just was just ignorant on how to handle these kinds of things. And so it's been a good learning experience for me. I definitely realized like me just sitting on a couch, addressing a camera on serious things, like just not my style. I put a lot of time into like trying to figure out how to, not just be weird. I like this more like conversational where you can also ask follow-up questions and it feels a little more real, you know what I mean? And like, it's just, so in the future, I'll probably like, if there's stuff like this, I'll probably just do something like this, you know what I mean? Or not, I don't know. If people throw out much more baseless claims, I also don't want to set the precedent where every time I have to come on here. So, give or take. But honestly, I just kind of wish I did this sooner.
Yeah, and I think it's something that's really important to note as well. People are gonna be like, "Well, he's media trained. He's got a PR team. He's a genius. He's gonna walk circles around you. He's gonna manipulate you. He's the Antichrist. He's the fucking devil horns guy." I'm asking questions that my team and I wrote based on information that's publicly available. And the assumption is after this, you're going to send receipts to back up any additional questions we have in the post process. So that's what's huge. Like, I'm not trying to debate necessarily.
I mean, there were definitely a couple things you asked me that I'm a little uncomfortable with. Like,
I can tell. Yeah,
I was. But yeah, I mean, if that's what the internet wants to know, then I just want to give them what they have, so I can just wake up and obsess over making the best videos possible and that kind of stuff. Like I used to in the good old days, aka 4 months ago.
The good old days.
What I want people to, because I get a sense you're winding things down. I just want to make very clear though, like I'm not perfect, and I don't want people to think I'm trying to give off this impression you can't criticize me. There are things I've done in my life you can criticize me for. It's just this whole last couple months is a little unfortunate because they're like these things where sure, I do deserve criticism, but then it's shrouded by these other disinformation, all these things that are just being stretched and blown out of proportion and things like that. So I just want to say I'm not perfect. I'm going to make mistakes, even though I've done this thing here, and we're addressing a lot of things. Like I'm sure in the future I'll make more mistakes as well. That's just the nature of you really have to just put yourself in the position of we're doing things that have never been done before. I'm like, who's even built a company this large on YouTube? Like everything I'm doing, from the videos to the spectacles to the building of the company, it's really never been done before. And your boy is going to make mistakes. And, one thing I hope my track record shows is when I'm become aware of mistakes, I do everything in my power to try to fix them. You know what I mean? And I hope that's what my track record shows. And that's what I hope people take away from it. Not that I'm perfect or I never did anything wrong. That just I mess up, and when I do, I try to fix it,
And if you had a final message for critics and fans, what would the final message for critics be?
I think honestly what I just said there.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. And then your people who still, I guess there's not really a reason, they don't know about any of this stuff. So your fans, they don't really care.
I'd love to see what they think of this.
Yeah.
I feel like we hit everything. I mean, you hit the Delaware thing because I saw that a lot, and I feel pretty good about it. There's nothing where I'm like, oh, we didn't hit this. I think this should give people the answers they're looking for, and I feel better doing it.
Even the soggy stuff today, I mean, that's about as fresh as it gets.
Yeah.
In terms of.
Yeah. I mean, just throw it up. Just upload this thing raw. Just throw it up there. Get this turned around before something else drops. It's like, oh, why did they talk about that?
Good point. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
That sounds good.
I'm going to show them episode 1 of Beast Games.
Okay.
December 19th. I'm kidding. Is that an inappropriate way to end it?
I feel like that's pretty Mr. Based build.
That last part was completely wrong. We did miss a few questions, and I called Jimmy the next morning to get clarification on a few more things, specifically Ava Shadman and some more of the crypto allegations. Here is that footage. We'll talk a little bit about Ava Tyson and specifically the Shadman stuff. I know we talked about the third-party investigation, which found no wrongdoing in a legal sense from that perspective. A thing that a lot of people care about is Shadman's a fucking freak and is a disgusting person. Did you know about the painting in? Did you know about that? Have you ever interacted with Shadman before? What is your relation to that, and specifically that relationship between Shadman and Ava Tyson and you?
Yeah, no, that's actually a good follow-up question. So this is what it was I don't remember 7, 8 years ago. Back then, I used to have a bunch of anime posters up on the wall. I'm just set a foundation for context. We used to have a bunch of anime posters and things like that on our wall in the house. And one day, Ava put up this poster that was an animated character holding a fidget spinner and a gun. Admittedly, it was a weird image. I didn't know who made it. I just kind of assumed it was a meme. I obviously did not know who Shadman was. I've never spoken with Shadman. I did not buy the poster or commission it or anything. And yeah, I mean, to be honest, I didn't really think too much of it because we just had a lot of anime posters and things up, and it was an animated character that was clothed, obviously. And yeah, knowing what I know about Shadman now, it was a very weird thing to buy. I'm not really sure why she bought it, to be frank. And yeah, I mean, I wish I could give more details. I mean, this was so long ago. Obviously, I don't know the exact thoughts going through my head, but I just remember I agree it is a little bit of a weird poster, but I also think I had Naruto posters up, or I had Code Geass posters, random animes I used to watch, and I never reversed image search and Googled, oh, who made this Code Geass anime poster that's sitting on the wall or whatever. I don't, I don't. Your first instincts when you just see a poster is not to just go, who made that, and deep dive them. So
yeah, are they a pedophile? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So But yeah, I agree. It's her buying it is very weird, and I obviously, if I had known what I know now, I would have been like, "What the actual fuck?"
Yeah, that's fair. Because I also, after all this stuff, I didn't know who Shadman was. I've heard of him a little bit on Twitter and shit, but I didn't know. Total ignorance there. So okay, and that's just one that's important. You know, people, because that's fucked up. That guy is disgusting. And you know, people do care. It's like you've got pedo art, and you were saying you didn't know. That's yeah, it's disgusting. Fucking Shadman is a freak. So. Okay, you said that I was manipulated by DogPack. But before that, you said that you DM'd some commentary guys or some YouTubers like evidence of like the Delaware stuff, basically context. And I just wanted to know, so you did reach out to me. We talked a little bit in the very beginning. You know, it wasn't like we were friends or anything like that. But it was very short, and like I just wanted to know why you didn't give me that stuff or provide me with any information when I was the biggest channel platforming DogPack. I think that, you know, I would have taken it under as my responsibility to I hope people, you know, would believe that I want to do what's truthful and I want to show the actual facts of a situation. I don't just want to like shit on Mr. Beast for the sake of shitting on Mr. Beast. I just wanted to know why early on you didn't provide me I guess specifically, why wasn't that? Did you think I was a controlled op? You know, I would have gladly seen whatever you would have shown.
That's actually a great question. I mean, we did have a call. I called you after the videos, and I told you and explained to you a lot of things that weren't true. You're right. I didn't send you that Delaware photo. I guess I might not have even had that photo at the time, because I think I literally called you right after you posted. Yeah. But I did tell you a lot of things weren't true, and explain a lot of things. I mean, but yeah, agreed. I'm not throwing you under the bus. I didn't send you any cold hard evidence. Maybe I guess I was a little hesitant because, you know, you did speak with him, and it did seem like, you know, you were going a little easy on him. So I guess I didn't fully know. But yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't know. I mean, I did send it to people. Why I didn't send that to you? Honestly, I don't really know, to be honest.
Yeah, it's fair, and it's just, you know, because I would have appreciated is all I'm saying, because like you know, in the very beginning, I did genuinely believe that, you know, I like the idea of whistleblowers. I think people should be able to criticize the guy. You're the guy. We said that a lot yesterday, and you did refute a lot of stuff, but there was just I didn't get any sort of evidence or anything like that. It's just I think it's a lot of you know, a lot of this mistake.
Yeah, I think in my head is I just called you, was like, hey, off the top of my dome, here's a bunch of things that aren't true. And then you just said, hey, you probably did say something along the lines of I need evidence. And then, you know, at the time, that's where it's just like, this is all a blur. I don't even remember what days it was. Yeah. Maybe back then was like when I was working on my response video or whatever. But agreed. Like, I don't think you did anything wrong. Like I didn't send you like, oh, here's a doc of everything. You know what I mean? And then you just ignored it. Right. Yeah. So
because I mean,
I probably should have.
No, you know, and I'm not trying to like guilt you or whatever. It's just you know, this whole thing is really crazy, and it seems like it's gone so far just because you know, you tried to do what was right, which is have a third party investigation, and like a lot of this stuff is just because like the information wasn't conveniently accessible to YouTube, which is like a really big problem in a weird way. It's like it was like we're suffering from trying to do it right, but also suffering from people not having convenient access to like just a doc or something, like a doc of information. Just so, I mean, I guess in the future, hopefully this, you know, anything that's disproven or that is not true, obviously is no longer propagated. And like everything else that is important is credible. But yeah, dude, I feel like in the future, if you've got evidence, show me or somebody, or just like a Google Doc. I mean, because you didn't make me sign an NDA or anything like that. I've consistently mentioned that because I think it's really important. And I feel like there is a level of transparency you're operating with, which I respect. And, you know, yeah, I feel like this wouldn't have been as bad earlier on if like that, you know, that's sort of the approach, which is tough. You've obviously never been through this, and this is not, you know, there's only one Mr. Beast. So, But yeah, it's just something I wanted to clarify because, you know, you feel like I was manipulated, and I genuinely, and a lot of other YouTubers as well, I'm sure, commentary guys probably don't feel like they're manipulated. It's just a drastically different perspective. You know, you are Mr. Beast, so it's tough to say, not to, you know, say I deserve the benefit of the doubt or whatever. I absolutely should have researched more. But once again, it's a bigger problem, I feel like, that I think hopefully will be mitigated more in the future by this all coming out. And hopefully how transparent this video that I'm making right now with you is.
Yep, all fair points.
Cool. Okay, so now a little bit more on the crypto stuff. I know I talked about CoffeeZilla a little bit yesterday. He's awesome. I think he does really good work on YouTube, and he holds people accountable. And you know, it's just impressive. He does actual real investigatory work. Like, he's not the guy who makes videos out of convenience like most of other, like me and a bunch of other commentary YouTubers. So, you know, I feel like it's my responsibility to ask some more questions about the crypto stuff, because we sort of glossed over it a little bit yesterday. And it's one of those things where it's note heavy, receipt heavy. So, you know, if you don't know something, you just let me know. And if you have to go find information or whatever to back up what you're saying, you know, I don't expect you're like a politician and have all your fucking, you know, we're not debating philosophy or politics. Like, I don't expect you to have everything at your left hand. I understand you're busy. So, you know, if there's information you can provide so we can put it in post, just let me know.
Okay.
Okay, so first one is Wu-Tang. You have said that you do not control the Wu-Tang wallet. You said that last night. You said that a friend did it. You said you didn't know what Wu-Tang was.
A fund did it, yes, not a friend.
Right. Okay, a fund. Okay. On a podcast with Logan Paul about CryptoPunks, you talk about a call you had with Mr. Gary, where you claim to have bought and or sold CryptoPunks, but then later decided to roll the money into VFriends. And this is all like video, obviously. And this trading activity all happened within the Wu-Tang wallet, which we talked about last night.
Yes.
So if it was your decision, you know, if semantically, if what you're talking about on the podcast, if it was your decision, your trading decision to buy and sell the punks or VFriends, even though you didn't press the buttons, was it actually your decision? Did you press the button? Did you not press the button? Was it your decision? And if it was your decision, and even if you didn't press the button, it still, to me, would mean that you had control of those trading decisions.
Yeah, these are good questions. Actually, I'm glad we're doing this follow-up thing so we can also just put all this stuff out there. So, yes, I did say that in the podcast, and I obviously did not press the buttons like I've been saying. I didn't pick what punks to buy or anything. Gary Vee, like I said on that podcast, called me and a bunch of other people, said CryptoPunks are the next big thing. I thought it was pretty crazy, but, you know, the first thing I did right after that is just called the guy in charge of the fund who invested my money and it's other people's money as well, and just said, hey, Gary Vee seemed very passionate about these punks. You should look into it. If it makes sense, buy it. And so, you know, he did the research, picked what punks to buy, bought them. I don't even truthfully know how to buy punks. I've never bought one, like me personally.
Okay.
Like I've said, I don't have access to that wallet. So, I mean, in other transparency, like that's kind of high level how it went. But, you know, if he was like, oh, this is a shit investment, then he wouldn't have bought them. So he was the one who was doing the buying and selling and managing things.
Okay. But you did make some decisions to buy or sell in the Wu-Tang fund.
Well, I mean, yeah, I just told him like, hey, Gary, like in transparency, Gary called me about CryptoPunks and said they were cool. Look into it. I mean, so at the end of the day, bro, I don't fucking know. Like, I don't know which punks to buy or which ones we should buy if it's a good investment. Like, that's why I, put the money in a fund and had professionals managing it.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, they're stupid as shit. I don't like any of the NFT stuff. I'm glad that's all kind of come and gone now. I like the newer era we're in. Okay, so next is the super tweet, the super coin tweet. For context, on May 12th, 2021, you, Mr. Beast, tweeted in response to it was an Elio Trades tweet. There's a gym sitting there on the market at an eye-watering price set to explode during DeFi Summer 2.0. And then you responded by saying super ? With a crazy emoji.
Yep.
So why did you not disclose that you had a vested interest in the coin that you were tweeting about, super ? Yeah, we'll start there.
Well, I replied to a tweet, so I did tweet it out. And I think a lot of people, that are just getting second hands of the story think I literally tweeted out, go buy super, go buy super. Yeah, the fund did hold some super, and I just saw that was the owner of super, the guy who made the coin. And I just went scrolling through Twitter, just replied super to his tweet. I did not tell people to buy super or anything. I just replied super. And I know the next thing where people are going to go, but this was a planned, coordinated thing. It wasn't. It's not like I'm on the phone with the people managing the crypto fund going, hey, I'm about to reply super to this tweet. Like, I just was scrolling Twitter and I replied super. And I highly doubt anyone bought it because they saw me reply super to a tweet. I mean, just to be honest. So I didn't think too much of it. Obviously, though, in hindsight, I could see how people might think that is a weird look optically. And so I wouldn't do it. But I really don't think it's that malicious. If I just flat out tweeted, I think super is the next big thing. Go buy it. Super, super, super. I think this is a different conversation. That's the kind of stuff actual people do. You know what I mean? And
scammers.
So I just don't. Yeah. So it was just interesting too, because Coffee never said I was a scammer in his video. Yet, there's so many comments on it. Just a lot of people just want to drive, whatever. People who don't like me, like he said in the video, are not going to like me, and they're, going to run with it. People who do like me are going to be like, oh, it was managed by a fund, and Jimmy had answers for everything, which, it's not excuses. I literally was just a fund. I was not the one buying or selling or anything. You know what I mean? I had other people managing it. So that's the honest answer. I just replied super, and, I guess if I could go back in time, I'd just not reply. I didn't think it was a big deal when I did it.
Yeah, but now, obviously, with because crypto is changed massively in the last couple of years, so you could consider that a mistake at this point. That's definitely
And another little context point I think a lot of people are missing. A lot of people who do this kind of stuff do it on low volume coins that sell $100,000 a day, so it actually dramatically pumps it and blah blah. Super is the 100th biggest crypto coin out there. Super is a legit coin. It's a legit project that's massive. That tweet didn't move the needle for shit or anything, right? So that's another context piece people are missing. If anything, buying super, actually, I'm not even going to say that. I was going to, would probably be a good investment because it's one of the biggest coins out there and it seems to be doing really well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But now I have to say, disclosure, we still hold super to this day. Yeah, that's honest. That's the honest truth. Nothing malicious there. Just replied to a tweet.
Yeah. I think. We have a lot of evidence of people genuinely scamming, and it doesn't seem along the same vein to be real. But it is important to ask about and important to get total clarity about, because you do have a lot of influence. And regardless of what you say, whether or not you say, oh, I'm sure nobody bought it, maybe somebody did. Who knows? There's no way to really prove or disprove.
But even if they did buy it, the coin, it's a 100th biggest coin, and it seems to be doing really well. So,
yeah, I think the problem would be that the obviously that you have it, that you would benefit off.
I got you. I see what you're saying. Yes.
So now, I'm assuming your answer to this will be that you just didn't think it was important. But why would you not mention that your fund Wu-Tang had been selling and continued to sell super on the day and after you tweeted about it or responded to a tweet for clarity?
Yeah. So again, I wasn't involved in the day-to-day of the fund. If you look at the sell charts in that report, they were selling, I believe off the top of my head, months prior and then months after. It looks like the fund was just dollar cost averaging it. So there's literally no correlation to my just little response to a tweet and what the fund was doing. It's kind of the same answer as before. I just replied to a tweet. Clearly it wasn't a coordinated thing.
Gotcha. And then the final one, this one's a lot more complicated and involves a lot of stuff. So maybe you would want to reconvene with receipts or evidence or whatever. But it's the crypto charity stuff. Team C's Eternity.
Yeah.
So
that one. The Eternity gave us NFTs to auction off for Team C's. Only one sold after a day, I believe, and that was it. And then, it looks like the fund sold 27 days later, a little bit of Eternity. It was not combined or planned or premeditated in any way. I mean, honestly, the charity auction was a bomb. It only raised $7,000. No one cared, so it didn't really do anything. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of the full story. There's nothing nefarious there.
Yeah, it sold $2 million of the earn tokens.
Yes, the fund did 27 days later. Yes, after the NFT sold.
Okay. Yeah, that seems. I mean, it seems like a lot. I don't know what the market cap was, but yeah. I mean, I just for this one, I feel like this is a valid criticism, and this doesn't make you like an evil scammer or anything. I don't believe, but you know, it's like this kind of stuff, transparency in regard to this kind of stuff. It's just super, super, super important. And you are the charity guy too. I mean, like if anybody, and like we complain. So we talked a lot about the philanthropy stuff and how, you know, CGI has gotten you in trouble and had a net negative in your charitable doings. I feel like this is one where the criticism is valid in regard to charity. And like, you know, it is a good example of philanthropy stuff that probably should have just been done differently, but at the same time, 2021 is like a huge area of gray for influencers with crypto access, and like it's just, I don't know, it seems like a game that if you're a big influencer in 2021 or 2020 and you got into crypto at some point, you probably made some kind of mistake at some point. Yeah, I mean, it seems like a big problem to me. You being the charity guy, and this is once again to give you the benefit of the doubt with all the philanthropy stuff that we spoke about last night. I think all that stuff is huge and massive. But as the charity guy, if your fund is privately making like millions of dollars during a charity drop that your name is attached to, like even if
so again, that I would say is not fully correct. So the charity drop happened. One sold, the other ones weren't selling. No one cared. So there was no selling of NFTs to raise money for charity anywhere near where the fund was selling before or after. People could technically still have bought those NFTs, but no one did because it just basically no one cared. So I just don't feel like that's a fair criticism. Like they gave Team C some NFTs to raise money. One sold, no one cared, and then it just basically died. And then just under a month later, it looks like the fund sold some tokens, completely unrelated to all of this. So it's not like this. Where's a charity drop that was selling hundreds of NFTs a day, and in the middle of all of it, they sold some earn tokens. It's like one NFT sold, raised money. The charity, sell just basically died. It's not going up. No one's buying it. No one ever bought it anymore. And almost a month later, it sold. So, I mean, if anything, it looks like the people in the fund were being cognizant of it and paused selling and waited till long after it ended to do it. You know what I mean? So I actually disagree. I don't think anything nefarious was done there, to be honest.
Okay. Just to be clear, though, you keep saying a couple coins or like you're downplaying it. It's $2 million of earned tokens. That's quite a bit. That's like a lot of money.
Of course. And obviously not all of it is mine. It's the fund. But it was also known that my fund was invested in it, and I was a part of the fund. So it's also not like it was hidden that we were invested in Earn. Like that was public information.
Right. Cool. Yeah. You just, maximum transparency there. It's like if there's any other information you want to send in regard to that, I've got the DMs of from Nick Rose, the CEO of Eternity Chain, talking about that there will be a 2-month auction for charity, and that quote unquote Mr. Beast is supporting both drops. Which obviously that's not you saying that is this guy, but yeah, it's just something to be super transparent about.
100%, and I'm glad I could give color on these things. To be honest, so I'm glad like people now can see what I have to say on both those things, and I actually appreciate this follow-up call. And this is good. Like I actually feel like unless you have any other questions, everything's been hit.
That's it. I mean, I can't. Can you think of anything?
I'm actually never doing that again.